Chapter 2761. After returning to the immortal divine realm, Knight Sorrow led Su Xiaoye and the other void beasts to a natural lake. He gave them the area within a few 100,000 miles to develop on their own. The void beasts led by Su Xiaoye had originally lived at the bottom of the soundless ocean, a place that couldn't see the light of day. Now that they were officially in the god world, he was in a good mood. He treated Knight Sorrow and the others well before letting them leave. After leaving the new territory of the void beasts, Knight Sorrow didn't immediately return to the Domain Master Manor in the immortal divine realm. Instead, he went to the Domain Master Tianye's territory to look for him. However, when he arrived, he was told that Tianye wasn't there. He then told Tianye's subordinate, the divine King Bei Chen, about the soundless ocean. Only then did he return to the Domain Master Manor. There were only two materials left to activate the Heaven's Eye Stone and Parasol Tree Grass. Knight Sorrow would recognize these two items if he saw them, but he didn't have any clues about them. When Knight Sorrow returned, Wu Lingfei was still in seclusion. It was rare for him to have some time to rest, so he spent it with his wives in the Domain Master Manor. Under the influence of his wives, Jing Yun received the most companionship and rested for 3 months. Knight Sorrow entered the Clear Sky Pagoda to cultivate the immortal divine art. His power of virtue had reached the level of a mid-level divine lord. If he cultivated in peace, his cultivation, body, and soul wouldn't encounter any bottlenecks. He would be able to become a mid-level divine lord soon. However, Knight Sorrow was special. He could challenge the divine king as a low-level divine lord. The amount of resources he needed to become a mid-level divine lord was terrifying. After absorbing resources for 500 years in the Clear Sky Pagoda, he wasn't far from becoming a mid-level divine lord. In another 500 to 1,000 years, he would become a mid-level divine lord. However, one day, Sikong Chuyu came to inform Knight Sorrow that Wu Lingfei had come out of seclusion and had successfully become a low-level divine lord. Knight Sorrow came out of seclusion immediately. Seeing Wu Lingfei in high spirits after her breakthrough, Knight Sorrow was so happy that he almost cried. He still remembered Wu Ling concubine's disappointment when she was first rescued. At that time, her heart ached so much that she couldn't control herself. Concubine Fei, congratulations! Advance to the Divine Lord realm. After pondering for a while, Knight Sorrow organized his thoughts and finally said a few simple words. Wu Lingfei was overjoyed. Although I'm still very far away from the sovereign and the divine king, at least I've caught up a little. Haha. With Auntie Fei's talent, her future was limitless. You should adjust yourself for a few days. Once you have completely adapted to the divine sovereign realm, we will head to the Phoenix ancestral land. Isn't that the reason you came to the god realm? Yi Shang revealed a trace of a smile. He felt very gratified to be able to do something for Wu Lingfei. Yes. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Wu Lingfei smiled and nodded, not saying anything. But in her heart, she thought, the so-called Phoenix ancestral land is just a set of words. This was a small interlude, and Knight Sorrow didn't notice it. Afterward, he asked Aoi and the others to prepare a banquet to celebrate Wu Lingfei's breakthrough. At this point, the people of the Night Moon dynasty had completely gained a foothold in the god realm. They only needed the heaven and earth concealment array to be invincible. Knight Sorrow felt a lot less pressure because of the eternal supreme domain. Everyone drank to their heart's content. After the banquet, there was almost no one who wasn't drunk. After the banquet, Knight Sorrow rested in the Domain Master's Manor for 3 days. While Wu Lingfei was adjusting to the Divine Lord realm, he smashed the jar in his hand. He used the sovereign grade materials on the jar to completely repair the heavenly Samsara halberd. After absorbing a large amount of sovereign grade materials, the heavenly Samsara halberd was not only restored to its original state, but also upgraded to a half-step sovereign-grade divine artifact. Knight Sorrow also used it to recreate the Forbidden Spear. The Forbidden Spear had the same name as before, but its power was vastly different. The destructive power of the Samsara attribute was on full display. After repairing the heavenly Samsara halberd and recreating the Forbidden Spear, Wu Lingfei still hadn't come out of seclusion. Knight Sorrow once again rushed to the Soundless Sea by himself. When the hairless Taoist had detonated the lid of the jar, they had left in a hurry and hadn't been able to carefully observe the teleportation and summoning formations. He was prepared to do a thorough investigation before heading to the Phoenix ancestral grounds. When Night Sorrow arrived at the Soundless Sea's teleportation and summoning formations, he discovered that Hegemon Tianai was observing the two formations with his hands clasped behind his back. He immediately stepped forward and greeted, "Lord Hegemon Tianai. Let's just call you Brother Tianai. I feel awkward hearing you call me Lord Hegemon." Hegemon Tianai had already emphasized to Night Sorrow how to address him, but Night Sorrow still felt that it was inappropriate to call him Brother Tianai. Now that Hegemon Tianai brought it up again, Night Sorrow replied, "All right. In the future, I'll call you Brother Tianai. Brother Tianai, do you have any way of dispelling these two formations? One of them can be used to teleport to the Dark Abyss, while the other can be used to summon creatures from the Dark Abyss." Hegemon Tianai said, then continued in a domineering tone, "Of course we can dispel them. However, we only need to destroy one of them to return to the Dark Abyss. As for the summoning formation that doesn't require a blood sacrifice, we'll just keep it." That's true. With Brother Tianai here, no matter how many creatures are summoned from the Dark Abyss, they won't be able to pose a threat to the God Realm. Night Sorrow immediately agreed upon hearing Hegemon Tianai's words. Hegemon Tianai chuckled. "This is the immortal divine realm. Even if creatures of darkness are summoned, it should be you, an immortal sovereign, who should deal with them. Leave them for me? That's fine too." Night Sorrow was surprised at first, but he didn't think much of it. "As long as they don't come, I'm confident in dealing with them. If a Dominator-rank creature descends, it will be a realm war. Not only me, but other Dominators will also rush over. Don't worry. As for creatures of darkness below the Hegemon level, they'll be of great help to you in increasing your strength. I won't let anyone else deal with them. I'll try my best to become a divine king as soon as possible." Hegemon Tianai patted Night Sorrow on the shoulder in a friendly manner. "I'll do my best. I just hope that as many creatures of darkness are summoned as possible." Night Sorrow thought for a moment. He felt that Hegemon Tianai's reasoning made a lot of sense. "Give me your divine artifact," Hegemon Tianai suddenly said. "Which divine artifact? Is it Tianyun Bao?" Night Sorrow asked. Chapter 2762. What? The Samsara halberd might have been tainted by something unclean? Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow was stunned. He hadn't noticed this at all. Without any hesitation, he took the Samsara halberd off his back and handed it to Hegemon Tianai. Hegemon Tianai took the halberd and hovered it in the air. After sizing it up, he scolded, "Why aren't you showing yourself in front of me? You go your own way, and I'll go mine. Why are you meddling in other people's business?" As soon as Hegemon Tianai spoke, an extremely gloomy, resentful voice rang out from the Samsara halberd. "There really is something unclean here. Is it because I let the Samsara halberd absorb the jar fragment?" Upon hearing this evil voice, Night Sorrow immediately went on guard. Meanwhile, Hegemon Tianai smiled and said, "Night Sorrow is both my junior and my friend. How can I allow a weakling like you to harm him?" "Who are you calling weakling? You weren't even there when I became a Hegemon." The evil entity within the Samsara halberd was enraged by Hegemon Tianai's rebuke. It was a Hegemon from many reincarnations ago. By a stroke of luck, a sliver of its soul had been left behind. It had attached itself to the Hegemon artifact jar and devoured the jar's damaged artifact spirit. After Night Sorrow had used the Samsara halberd to absorb the jar's energy, it had entered the Samsara halberd. It had been waiting for an opportunity to attack Night Sorrow's soul during their battle. As it saw it, even if its soul had been damaged, it would still be far stronger than a divine lord. "The era that belongs to you has already passed. Why do you have to rely on your stubbornness to commit such atrocious acts?" Hegemon Tianai's tone gradually turned icy. "Although Night Sorrow's soul is no longer inferior to yours, I still don't want you to remain by his side as a hidden danger. Ha ha ha. How can a divine lord's soul be stronger than mine? Are all Hegemons this ignorant?" The soul within the Samsara halberd said non-committally. However, it was still deeply afraid of Hegemon Tianai. "Hurry up and leave or I'll kill you." Hegemon Tianai's tone gradually turned icy. If the discarnate soul didn't leave, he was prepared to attack. "If you want to destroy me, this halberd will definitely be destroyed as well." The remnant soul's cold voice came from inside again. Now he was no longer an artifact spirit, but an evil spirit. Humph. I've already given you a chance, but you didn't grasp it. Hegemon Tianai let out a cold snort, then reached out with his hand and grabbed the halberd, pulling the soul out of it. As soon as it was pulled out, the remnant soul immediately screamed, but to no avail. Hegemon Tianai said coldly, "Be destroyed." Then, he made a move and shattered it. After that, the remnant soul completely disappeared from the world. Thank you, Brother Tianai, for helping me find this remnant soul. After Dominator Tianai dealt with the Dominator remnant soul, Knight Sorrow immediately thanked him. Actually, you can also deal with him by yourself, but there is a certain degree of danger. Hegemon Tianai said, then continued, "Next, I'll set up a formation here. That way, you'll be able to sense it as soon as any dark creatures are summoned." Next, he set up a formation in front of them. Once the formation was complete, he looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Pour your blood into the formation and activate it. That way, your soul will be able to sense what's going on here at any time." "Alright, Brother Tianai." Knight Sorrow agreed, then poured his blood into the formation. After just 3 drops, he could sense that he was connected to the formation in front of him. It was an extremely mysterious feeling. "Alright, I'm going to return to the Hegemon's manor and continue my seclusion." Hegemon Tianai glanced at Knight Sorrow and said, "If you have the time, go to Cloud Immortal Continent and take a look. The battle there is getting more and more intense. If possible, protect Tianyun School." "I understand, Brother Tianai." Knight Sorrow nodded. Protecting Tianyun School was Xiao Tianxuan's wish, so he would do as he was told. Seeing that Hegemon Tianai was about to leave, he asked, "Brother Tianai, where in the God Realm can I find Heaven's Eye Stones and Wutong Grass?" "Heaven's Eye Stones and Wutong Grass?" Upon hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Hegemon Tianai muttered to himself, "I'm not sure about Heaven's Eye Stones. However, Wutong Grass should only grow around Wutong trees. As for Wutong trees, they usually appear in phoenix nests." "Phoenix nests? That's perfect." Hegemon Tianya's words reminded Knight Sorrow of the Phoenix ancestral grounds. "What a coincidence," he said. "Thank you, Brother Tianai, for clearing my doubts. If there's nothing else, I'll be heading back." If there's nothing else, let's go." Hegemon Tianai waved his hand, then vanished. Knight Sorrow immediately returned to the Undying Divine Region's Domain Master Manor. As soon as he did, Shen Jizi came forward to report, "Captain, today, some of the Divine King's subordinates attacked our Undying Divine Region." "What kind of attack?" Knight Sorrow asked, frowning. "It's just some minor friction for now. Logically speaking, it's normal, but the number of Divine King's factions that have a problem with the Undying Divine Region seems to have increased," Shen Jizi explained. As it turned out, the number of Divine King's factions that had a bone to pick with the Undying Divine Region had increased to 4. Some even came from the All-Heaven Dominion's territories. Our Undying Divine Region is second only to the 7 Dominion's territories. It's inevitable that we'll be envied. If you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. This sort of thing is inevitable." Knight Sorrow analyzed the nature of the situation. "Also, we do need to focus on nurturing our forces. We can't possibly fight every battle by ourselves. We'll do our best. However, the Undying Divine Region has only just been established. There are many things that aren't on the right track yet." Shen Jizi then began to talk about the other difficulties the Undying Divine Region was currently facing. "The first step is always the hardest. Brother, you and the others should do your best. Use the resources as you wish. If there's anything you can't solve, come find me," Knight Sorrow said. After a moment's thought, he added, "I'll be accompanying Aunt Fei and Jing Yun to the Phoenix Ancestral Grounds today. During this time, the Undying Divine Region might encounter some trouble. If there's no other choice, we'll have to give up some territory. When I return, we'll take it back." All right. Shen Jizi nodded. If there were more than 2 Divine King in Knight Sorrow's absence, he and Jin Ye would have a hard time dealing with them. Chapter 2763. Understood, brother. Shen Jizi nodded and handed Knight Sorrow some information. This is the situation of the major factions attacking the Immortal Dominion. The 4 Divine King factions attacking the Immortal Dominion were the Dark Moon Dominion, All-Heaven Dominion, Illustrious Dominion, and 7-Star Dominion. The Dark Moon Dominion and 7-Star Dominion bordered the Immortal Dominion, so friction was inevitable. The Divine King of the All-Heaven Dominion and Illustrious Dominion were far away from each other, so it was a little too much. All-Heaven Dominion and Illustrious Dominion. Very good. We'll settle this score slowly. Crossing over to fight had to be approved by the Dominion. Knight Sorrow had a lot of opinions about the All-Heaven Dominion and Illustrious Dominion. However, the enemy's attack was still in the probing stage, so it wasn't urgent. The most important thing now was to find the Heaven's Eye Stone and Parasol Treegrass, and activate the Heaven and Earth Concealment Array. Only after ensuring Night Moon's safety could Knight Sorrow let go and do some things. After some thought, Knight Sorrow handed Su Xiaoye and Ma Yingjuan's jade talismans to Xian Jizi. These are the jade talismans of the 2 Divine Kings. If the Immortal Dominion is in danger while I'm accompanying Aunt Fei to the Phoenix Nest, summon them immediately. Including Jin Ye, we have at least 3 Divine Kings. We should be able to turn the tide. Good. In addition to Senior Tianqing, we have at least 4 God Kings present at this crucial moment. Xian Jizi relaxed a lot after receiving the jade talismans. The Immortal Dominion had just been established, so it didn't have many troops under its command. They could only rely on these top forces. Senior Tianqing is in seclusion. Don't look for her unless it's absolutely necessary. Knight Sorrow said one last thing to Xian Jizi before heading to Wu Lingfei's seclusion. Now that the Immortal Dominion was being targeted, time was of the essence. They had to hurry to the Phoenix Ancestral Grounds. When he found Wu Lingfei, she was still adjusting to the Divine Lord realm. Jing Yun was giving her pointers. After all, she was from an ancient family and had been a Divine Lord for some time. Husband, you're back? Aunt Fei's talent is very good. In another 2 or 3 years, she should be able to completely stabilize her cultivation. Upon seeing Knight Sorrow's arrival, Jing Yun immediately spoke. I'm afraid we don't have the time. Currently, our immortal domain is being targeted. This is just a probing attack, but as time passes, I'm afraid the domain chief's mansion will be threatened. Therefore, we have to speed up our journey to the Phoenix Ancestral Land. Knight Sorrow looked at Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. Then let's go quickly. If we can really obtain the relevant resources, our strength will definitely soar. At that time, it will be a good thing for the Immortal Dominion. Wu Lingfei immediately stood up and said when she heard Knight Sorrow's words. Aunt Fei, while I'm on my way, you can continue to stabilize your cultivation with Jing Yun in the Clear Sky Pagoda. However, time should be tight. Knight Sorrow said. He immediately summoned the 2 women into the Clear Sky Pagoda, and hurried to inform his other wives. Then, he left the domain chief's manor and headed to the Phoenix Ancestral Land left behind by the Supreme Phoenix. The Phoenix Ancestral Land was equivalent to a small world hidden in the void. Ordinary people couldn't enter even if they discovered it because they didn't have any tokens. Knight Sorrow had met the Supreme Phoenix and had some of his aura on him. Naturally, he could enter. When he arrived at the entrance of the Phoenix Ancestral Land, Knight Sorrow was immediately sucked into a teleportation array. Aunt Fei, Jing Yun, come out. We're here. After being sent to the Phoenix Ancestral Land by the teleportation array, Knight Sorrow immediately called the 2 women out of the Clear Sky Pagoda. In front of them was a small world that was scorching hot. There were countless sycamore trees. These sycamore trees didn't look too tall, but the forest was dense and filled with immortal chi. We should be at the edge. Can you feel anything? Knight Sorrow opened the eye of the sea serpent and observed for a while. However, he didn't see anything in the sycamore forest, so he asked. Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei had the phoenix bloodline flowing in their bodies. If there was an opportunity in the small world, they should be able to feel it. I don't feel anything special. After Knight Sorrow opened his mouth to ask, Wu Lingfei shook her head and said. Jing Yun similarly didn't feel anything and said, Me too. Linger, you come out and sense it a bit. See if you can find any aura. The 2 girls did not feel anything special. Knight Sorrow immediately summoned Cao Linger out of the Clear Sky Pagoda. This was the only Horn clan member that he carried on him. Alright. Big brother Knight Sorrow. Cao Linger spent more time with Knight Sorrow recently. Furthermore, her strength rose very quickly, and her mood was pretty good. After coming out of the clear sky pagoda, she used the two horns on her head to sense the small world. After roughly an hour, Cao Linger's brows were tightly locked as she said, "This place seems to be a little strange." "How strange?" Knight's Sorrow asked in puzzlement. "The natural treasures here seem to have all become spirits." Cao Linger said a sentence and continued describing, "Maybe it's because the small world has existed for too long. Some things with spirits here have all already become spirits and are no longer those kind of natural treasures of inanimate objects. If the bloodline or tail feathers left behind by sovereign ancestral phoenix became spirits, would it be too cruel for us to go and kill and plunder again?" When Jing Yun heard Cao Linger's words, she immediately revealed a difficult look. Wu Lingfei mused for a while and said, "If we need to strangle other lives to improve ourselves, I'd rather not have this kind of lucky chance. What you all said makes sense. But I feel that we still need to observe a little more." Knight's Sorrow opened his mouth and said a sentence, then continued, "Because sovereign ancestral phoenix, as an existence surpassing sovereigns, there's definitely a reason for letting us come." At this time, Cao Linger suddenly screamed and said, "Ah, they're here." At the same time, she rubbed her head non-stop. Clearly, her divine soul suffered an impact. "Lingfei, quickly consume these 2 medicinal pills." Knight's Sorrow hurriedly took out 2 medicinal pills and handed them to Cao Linger for her to consume. At this time, countless colorful phoenix-like birds flew over from the horizon. Among them was a fire phoenix. When it flew close to Knight's Sorrow, Wu Lingfei, and Jing Yun, it signaled for them to stop. Floating in the air, it said, "Are you the fated ones that Lord spoke of? We've been waiting for you for countless reincarnations." Sovereign ancestral phoenix had become a sovereign and left the god realm. Countless reincarnations had passed since then, and they had indeed waited for a long time. What instructions did Lord Sovereign Ancestral Phoenix leave behind? Yi Shan asked as he raised his head to size up the extremely dazzling fire phoenix in the air. Chapter 2764. Milord left behind an opportunity, but you need to pass the test to obtain it. At this point, the Inferno Phoenix released her divine soul and scanned the 3 of them carefully. Then she said disappointedly, "You are too weak. I suggest that the 3 of you break through to the Divine King before attempting the test. Otherwise, your lives will be in danger." Lord Phoenix Ancestor said that once I break through to the Divine Lord realm, I can bring people to seek out this opportunity. Knight's Sorrow had no intention of retreating. He couldn't wait until he reached the Divine King realm. "You might be blindly confident in your own strength." The flame phoenix floating in the sky gently flapped its wings, and boundless flames immediately attacked the 3 of them. At the same time, the flame phoenix said, "This level of flame attack is only 1% of the final test strength. You had best back off. This phoenix doesn't want to personally kill the fated person that Milord has chosen. This level of attack can't hurt us." The flames released by the flame phoenix were truly scorching hot, capable of incinerating all things. However, Knight's Sorrow, Jing Yun, and Wu Lingfei were all able to withstand it. This was especially true for Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei, who had the phoenix bloodline and didn't fear this heat. You're Milord's descendants. However, you shouldn't be able to pass the final test." The flame phoenix saw that her attack didn't have much effect and immediately confirmed that Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei's phoenix bloodline wasn't weak. But after thinking about the test left behind by the phoenix ancestor, she shook her head. "We choose to begin the challenge immediately." After being burned by the flames, Wu Lingfei immediately felt a sense of intimacy that she had never felt before, and her fighting spirit soared. Although Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei had only met a few times, they were both descendants of the phoenix ancestor, so she felt the same way. She also said, "Please allow us to accept the test. Since you've made up your mind, there's no harm in starting it. However, you'll be responsible for your own life and death." The flame phoenix in the sky saw that the 2 women were determined and had no intention of backing down, so she reminded them. She looked at Knight's Sorrow and said, "Do you want to start the challenge as well?" "Me? Aren't I here to help? You can also start the challenge yourself?" Yi Shan asked doubtfully when he heard Hua Feng's question. "Although you don't have the phoenix bloodline in your body, you have the aura of my lord, so you can naturally start the challenge. If you succeed, your harvest won't be less than theirs," the fire phoenix explained. At the same time he looked at Cao Linger, shook his head and said, As for her, she is not qualified to challenge. What does that have to do with me? Cao Linger was speechless. She had no intention of participating in the challenge at all. If it wasn't for Night Sorrow blocking the flames, she wouldn't have been able to withstand it. Since that's the case, I choose to start the challenge as well. Night Sorrow did not hesitate and immediately started the challenge. At the same time, he stored Cao Linger into the vast heaven pagoda. Good. You will be sent to 3 different small worlds. What you need to do is to survive and find a way to pass the test. The Fire Phoenix asked, Are you ready? Ready. Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei, and Jing Yun said at the same time. The moment the other party was about to open the small worlds, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Jing Yun. Take care of yourself. If the test is difficult to pass, then cultivate patiently until you pass the test. Time in the divine realm is the most worthless thing. Husband, you have to take care of yourself too. Jing Yun, who received the transmission, looked at Night Sorrow and smiled at him. Then, she released her battle intent. In the Night Moon Dynasty, she had been controlling her sharpness. At this moment, she finally erupted. Good. I will take care of myself. Yi Shang also glanced at Jing Yun. Although he didn't know what the ancestral Phoenix Sovereign's test and reward were, he had a strange feeling in his heart. He was slightly worried. However, he could not stop Jing Yun from searching for opportunities. At this time, Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and saw that his expression was not good. She immediately comforted him. Don't worry. Jing Yun's bloodline is several times stronger than Aunt Fei's. She will be fine. I believe that will be the case. Night Sorrow nodded and looked at Wu Lingfei. Aunt Fei, if you encounter an invincible creature inside, remember to use the king-grade divine talismans I gave you. Those things can save your life at a critical moment. Don't worry. Although Aunt Fei is a newcomer in the divine realm, I have experienced countless battles in the lower realm. Wu Lingfei said and hugged Night Sorrow. Then she looked at Huafeng and said, Please let me enter the challenge as well. Good. Get ready. Huafeng replied and sent Wu Lingfei into the small worlds. I originally thought that this would be a dangerous place similar to the cave abode, where I could find many treasures. After Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei were sent away, Yi Shang sighed emotionally. Master is not dead, and he is living well in the eternal supreme world. How could his cave abode and inheritance have fallen into such a state? Huafeng replied disdainfully when she heard Night Sorrow's words. Night Sorrow felt that her words made sense. However, he did not immediately start the challenge. Instead he asked, May I ask if I can find the parasol tree grass here? Parasol tree grass? Why are you asking about it? Huafeng thought for a moment and looked at a demon spirit behind her. Your original form is the parasol tree grass, right? Yes, Lord Huafeng. The parasol tree grass turned into a demon spirit and replied. May I ask if there is any parasol tree grass that has not turned into a demon spirit? I need some to set up a formation. Night Sorrow looked at the parasol tree grass and asked. Naturally, he could not use the parasol tree grass to activate the heaven and earth concealment formation. There is one parasol tree grass here, and that is me. The parasol tree grass looked at Night Sorrow and shook its head. Obviously, it was a little timid. Night Sorrow was at a loss when he saw its timid look. He continued to ask, Is there any way for me to get some parasol tree grass? Isn't it said that parasol tree grass is the companion of the parasol tree? There should be a lot of it. Huafeng replied when she heard Night Sorrow's words. The parasol tree is in Master's habitat, and you can only go there after passing the test. If you want to get the parasol tree grass, think of a way to pass the test. If you can do it, the other two can also help you pick the parasol tree grass. All right. Then help me activate the test left behind by Ancestor Phoenix. Obviously, he could not bear to kill the parasol tree grass, so he asked Huafeng to activate the test. Upon hearing Yi Shang's words, the flame phoenix in the sky immediately sent him to a small world. It's so hot. Chapter 2765. The terrifying heat felt like it was going to incinerate him. Night Sorrow looked up and realized that the small world in front of him was completely made up of fiery red. The ground was filled with liquid lava, with only a small amount of rocks. There was no way to walk. He could only advance by flying. How do I pass this test? Knight Sorrow, who was leaning against the small world's barrier, opened the sea serpent's eye and observed for a while. He then used his divine sense to investigate. He didn't find any feasible route. Therefore, he flew straight ahead aimlessly. After flying in the air for a while, Knight Sorrow suddenly saw a group of creatures appear in the magma on the surface. These were some dark brown lava earth dragons at the Divine Lord level. There were about 10 of them. Their aura wasn't particularly strong, but Knight Sorrow immediately felt a sense of danger when they locked onto him. Oh well! Intruder, die! As for these earth dragons, they had clearly gained intelligence and were aware that Yi Chong was the challenger. When they saw him, they immediately launched a ferocious attack. Just as these dark brown lava earth dragons attacked, a golden-red king-tier earth dragon drilled out from the lava. I just encountered some king-tier creatures. No wonder the Fire Phoenix said that I need to be at the Divine King's level to start the challenge. While using the Samsara halberd to resist the flames, Knight Sorrow focused on the king-tier earth dragon. After this king-tier earth dragon appeared, it didn't howl or do anything. However, being stared at, Knight Sorrow felt like his divine sense was being roasted. That strange burning sensation made him feel very uncomfortable. 33 Heaven's Secret Combat Technique. At this moment, Knight Sorrow activated the Green Phoenix armor and the 33 Heaven's Secret Combat Technique to remind himself of his strength. Then, he used the Dragon Roaming Heaven Steps and used the Samsara Halberd to attack some of the king-tier earth dragons below. The Samsara Heavenly Halberd was already a half-step Dominator-grade divine weapon, and Knight Sorrow's strength wasn't inferior to an ordinary divine king's. Under his attacks, the earth dragons in the lava started to die one by one. The king-level earth dragon didn't react much when the god monarch-level earth dragons were killed one after another. However, the king-level earth dragon kept roasting Yi Shang's divine soul, making Yi Shang feel as if he was being burned. In the beginning, this kind of roasting didn't cause any actual damage, but over time, it became very terrifying. Knight Sorrow even felt that he was like a frog being boiled in warm water. After fighting for so long, he felt as if his spirit was about to split apart. He felt as if his divine soul was about to explode. Fortunately, I have 2 divine souls. Otherwise, with the state of my divine soul, I wouldn't be able to fight normally. One of the deity seas was burning unbearably. Knight Sorrow immediately used the soul power of the other deity sea to lock onto the king-class earth dragon below. However, at this moment, more than a dozen roars came from the lava. The divine monarch-level earth dragons that Knight Sorrow had slain were actually reborn one by one in the lava swamp. Isn't it said that a phoenix can rise from the ashes? How come even earth dragons can rise from the ashes now? Looking at the earth dragons before him, Knight Sorrow couldn't help but feel a wave of emotions. He wondered if the secret of rebirth was hidden in this small world. However, time was of the essence. He could feel that the second deity sea was being roasted again. He immediately attacked the evil king-class earth dragon furiously. Oh well! At this moment, the king-class earth dragon that hadn't moved until now finally revealed its entire body. It was 1,000 times larger than Knight Sorrow's body, and dozens of times larger than the surrounding Divine Lord-level earth dragons. It looked like a monster that could blot out the sky and the sun. It gave off an indomitable feeling. If a king-class earth dragon can rise from the ashes, this king-class earth dragon should be able to do the same. I wonder how I can deal with it. Knight Sorrow, who was floating in the void, was a very small existence compared to the king-class earth dragon. Sky-burning dragon flames. Just as Knight Sorrow was thinking about how to deal with the king-class earth dragon, the huge earth dragon attacked first. It spat out a column of fire that was so hot that it changed the color of the void. Seeing the column of fire, the newly reborn earth dragons were so scared that they dove into the lava swamp. Knight Sorrow immediately understood that this flame was definitely not simple. Fiery demons subduing flames. Facing the column of fire, Knight Sorrow immediately shot out a flame that contained the aura of the ancestral phoenix. It collided with the flame spat out by the king-class earth dragon. The flame that Knight Sorrow shot out with the Samsara halberd was in the form of clouds of fire. It was different from the column of fire spat out by the king-class earth dragon, but it wasn't much weaker. After being shot out, the flames that filled the sky quickly gathered together and formed a wall of fire in front of Knight Sorrow, blocking the column of fire. The 2 different flames burned together and instantly created a terrifyingly high temperature. The surrounding void was instantly incinerated, burning one huge black hole after another. It looked extremely terrifying. However, the column of fire attack by the King-class Earth Dragon was successfully neutralized by Night Sorrow. The aura of the ancestral phoenix in the Samsara halberd played a crucial role. It had a restraining effect on the King-class Earth Dragon. You have some skills, but you still have to die. You're still a little weak when it comes to fighting with this King's flame power. Seeing that the attack didn't pose any threat to Night Sorrow, the Earth Dragon King immediately roared and spat out a round ball of fire into the air. It roared, "Have a taste of this King's natal fire origin bead." The huge natal fire origin bead looked like a small sun. It was shot out directly at Night Sorrow. The closer it was to Night Sorrow, the hotter it became. It's really uncomfortable to be roasted like this. Passively taking a beating isn't a solution. I have to go all out. Unknowingly, Yi Shang felt his second spirit sea burn unbearably again. While he was on guard, forming the Divine Essence Dragon locking formation, Xiao Chen locked the natal fire origin bead within. Then, he took out the heavenly cloud bow and shot out 3 heavenly cloud arrows. In the previous battle, all 9 heavenly cloud arrows had been destroyed. Thus, he had created 20 new ones. 9 of them had been strengthened with the Sovereign Stone. The 3 that he shot out weren't strengthened. Sovereign Artifact? Good, very good. With the Sovereign Artifact, this king won't be bound to this small world anymore. The King-class Earth Dragon roared excitedly when it saw Night Sorrow take out the Tianyun bow. You want to steal the Sovereign Artifact and escape from this small world? You're dreaming. As Night Sorrow spoke, the 3 heavenly cloud arrows that hit the natal fire origin bead immediately exploded, causing the natal fire origin bead to be severely damaged. He had intentionally used this tactic of harming the enemy while harming himself. These heavenly cloud arrows hadn't been strengthened by the Sovereign Stone, so they weren't that valuable. Chapter 2766. Do you think that this king's natal fire essence orb is so easily damaged? Seeing that Night Sorrow had used the 3 heaven cloud arrows to damage his natal fire essence orb, the King-tier Earth Dragon laughed in a deep voice. It immediately spat out 3 flames on the damaged natal fire essence orb. After being burned by the flames, the natal fire essence orb immediately recovered to its original state. At this moment, Night Sorrow's godly soul was being roasted in the flames and felt even more uncomfortable. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who felt that this was not the way to go, suddenly had an idea. He started to make use of his opponent's godly soul attack to strengthen his own godly soul. After the immortal divine art was activated, although his opponent's godly soul attack was still there, at the same time, the strength of his godly soul started to be strengthened. The strength of his godly soul started to catch up with the power of merit, slowly increasing towards the level of a mid-level divine lord. You know how powerful I am? Go to hell. The Dominator divine weapon is this king's. The King-tier Earth Dragon obviously did not expect that Night Sorrow would choose to strengthen one of his deity Cs under such circumstances. Then, he would use the other deity C to fight. It thought that the natal fire essence orb had completely suppressed Night Sorrow and spat out 3 more flames. This time, the 3 flames were red, orange, and gold respectively. The degree of heat was extremely shocking. After absorbing the 3 flames, the natal fire essence orb's attacks immediately became more ferocious. As it spun in the air, it continuously shot out beams of fire at Yi Shan. If not for the fact that Night Sorrow's body was strong enough, he would have been incinerated by the flames. Tianyun Bao, you want to absorb these flames? Just as Night Sorrow was trying his best to resist the flames, he suddenly felt that Tianyun Bao seemed to be activated on its own. It seemed to want to devour the flames to strengthen itself. However, its will was a little vague. Night Sorrow didn't quite understand it. He could only feel Tianyun Bao's trembling. He couldn't completely decipher its thoughts and directly placed it in the void. Placed in the air, Tianyun Bao absorbed all the flames shot out by the natal fire essence bead. After absorbing to a certain extent, Tianyun Bao suddenly let out a bow sound. After the bow vibrated for a moment, a small flame suddenly appeared on the bow. Although these flames looked very gentle, they increased Tianyun Bao's power by a lot. So you didn't know that you can absorb blood and fire. Seeing the changes in Tianyun Bao, Night Sorrow suddenly understood that absorbing blood was not the only way for Tianyun Bao to become stronger. After pondering for a moment, Knight Sorrow took out a strengthened Heaven Cloud arrow. He plucked Tianyun Bao from the void and shot it directly at the Emperor rank Earth Dragon. Tianyun Bao's Heaven Cloud arrow, which had been activated by the pure flames, immediately burned with scorching flames. Using fire techniques against this King Earth Dragon? Facing Tianyun Bao's Heaven Cloud arrow, the Emperor rank Earth Dragon snorted contemptuously. It swept its huge tail over, wanting to shatter the Heaven Cloud arrow. However, what it didn't expect was that this Heaven Cloud arrow not only contained a trace of Dominator rank power, but the flames on it were also very shocking. It directly pierced through its tail and spun behind it before shooting towards its head. King's Inferno. To the Emperor rank Earth Dragon, the Heaven Cloud arrow looked like an embroidery needle. However, the terrifying power it contained made it not dare to underestimate it. It immediately spat out its most powerful origin flames. What a terrifying flame! When the King's Inferno was spat out, Knight Sorrow could feel the sky change color. Even with the strength of his body, he wouldn't be able to last long if he was burned by this flame. He, who was still using the flames from his natal fire origin orb to strengthen his divine soul, didn't dare to use the King's Inferno to strengthen his divine soul. At the same time, after this flame was spat out, it directly burned and destroyed the strengthened Heaven Cloud arrow. This was the first time the Heaven Cloud arrow had been so easily destroyed by the Divine King. Knight Sorrow was very shocked. However, at this time, Tianyun Bao once again flew out of Knight Sorrow's hands with a boom. It absorbed all the King's Inferno in the void. This King's origin flames. Spit out this King. Seeing its origin flames being absorbed by Tianyun Bao, the Emperor rank Earth Dragon immediately roared. The origin flames in its body were formed gradually after accumulating for tens of thousands of reincarnations. It was very precious to it. Now that it was all absorbed by Tianyun Bao, how could it not feel uncomfortable? So this is the origin flames, no wonder it's so powerful. Tianyun Bao absorbed all the King's Inferno of the Earth Dragon, and immediately flew back to Knight Sorrow's hands. Knight Sorrow, who was lamenting, immediately felt the flame released by his natal fire origin orb drop by a lot. His strengthened divine soul was no longer under any pressure when facing this kind of flame attack. At this time, Knight Sorrow didn't immediately use Tianyun Bao to attack the Emperor rank Earth Dragon. Instead, he used the flames from his natal fire origin orb and the immortal mantra to strengthen his body, gradually increasing his body's strength. However, there was still a certain distance to the level of a middle divine lord. Bastard! You actually used this king's method to strengthen yourself in battle. The Emperor rank Earth Dragon gnashed its teeth in hatred when it saw Knight Sorrow's method. But after thinking for a moment, it didn't explode. Instead it shouted, "Challenger! Return this king's origin flames, and this king will consider you a pass. I will also tell you how to open the next checkpoint. Your suggestion is very good, but things are not under my control. Let's continue the battle. Take my arrow." The Emperor rank Earth Dragon's words moved Knight Sorrow, but he wasn't a 3-year-old child. How could he return the opponent's trump card and continue to withstand the opponent's attacks? After replying, he took out 5 heavenly cloud arrows. He shot the 5 elements arrow burning with flames towards the huge Emperor rank Earth Dragon. The 5 elements arrow with the Emperor rank Earth Dragon's origin flames was extremely terrifying. After shooting it, it immediately caused the Emperor rank Earth Dragon's face to change color. It directly fled back into the lava swamp. Looks like without the origin flames, you have no strength to fight at all. You don't even want your natal fire origin orb anymore. The 5 elements arrow chased into the lava swamp. Knight Sorrow began to use the clear sky pagoda to collect the natal fire origin orb in front of him. The flames that this natal fire origin orb spewed out could be used to cultivate the strength of the body, and could also be used to strengthen the divine soul. The effect was extremely great. To the current him, it was absolutely a good thing. At the beginning, although Knight Sorrow tried his best to absorb it, he couldn't completely absorb it into the clear sky pagoda, because the Emperor rank Earth Dragons will still remain in the natal fire origin orb. Chapter 2767. After about 10 breaths of time, the 5 elements arrow flew out of the lava swamp. The Earth Dragon's roar completely disappeared, and the Earth Dragon's will in the natal fire origin pearl also disappeared. Obviously, The Earth Dragon had been killed by the 5 Elements arrow. Knight Sorrow used this time to keep the natal fire origin pearl in the clear sky pagoda and made it recognize him as its master. Although the intensity of the flames on the life fire origin bead that was stored in the clear sky pagoda was not as strong as the Earth Dragon's origin flames, it was completely destructive to a god lord. It could even threaten a god king. It was very useful. Knight Sorrow used his divine soul to sense it and nodded in satisfaction. At this time he muttered, "Even a Sir God level Earth Dragon can be revived. It should be the same for a King tier Earth Dragon. When you revive, let's fight again." While waiting for the King tier Earth Dragon to revive, Knight Sorrow used the natal fire origin pearl to strengthen the first divine sea and his body. Just as the first divine sea's divine soul reached the level of a middle-level Sir God. In the lava swamp, there was a loud dragon roar. This dragon roar was filled with endless anger. It immediately shook the lava in the swamp and sent it flying. "You caused me to lose my life. Challenger, you will die here. Your Dominator divine weapon will become this king's." After the King tier Earth Dragon was revived, its body was 100 times smaller. It looked about the same size as a Sir God level Earth Dragon. However, its divine king aura had a significant change. It had risen from a low-level divine king to a middle-level divine king. Its strength had a significant increase. If Tianyun Bao can kill you once, he can kill you a second time. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you don't want to be completely killed, choose to submit and let me pass. Knight Sorrow looked at the revived King tier Earth Dragon. Although its aura had increased, it was not as dangerous as before. "You want to pass? Unless you kill this king. Go to hell." The King-class Earth Dragon clearly had a violent temper. Without wasting any time, it leaped into the air and attacked Knight Sorrow. Before its rebirth, it had always used flames to attack. Who would have thought that its first attack would be a close-range attack? Good timing. Knight Sorrow was not used to the Earth Dragon's constant fire attacks. Knight Sorrow wielded the heavenly Samsara halberd and unleashed the forbidden spear that he had just comprehended. The heavenly Samsara halberd, which was already a half-step sovereign weapon, unleashed a new forbidden spear attack. The spear left Knight Sorrow's body and pierced through the void toward the Earth Dragon King. The King-class Earth Dragon might have the cultivation of a middle-level divine king, but it was still pierced through and sent flying. Roar! The King-class Earth Dragon King had never imagined that Knight Sorrow would be able to pierce through it and send it flying without using a sovereign weapon. It was so angry that it immediately roared. As the King-class Earth Dragon roared, all the Divine Lord-level Earth Dragons in the lava swamp flew out of the swamp and turned into fire energy that entered its body. At the same time, a fire crystal core also rose from the bottom of the lava swamp. After absorbing all the energy in this fire crystal core, the King-class Earth Dragon's cultivation advanced to that of a high-level divine king. Its strength had increased qualitatively. It actually advanced from a low-level divine king to a middle-level divine king so quickly, and then to a high-level divine king. Why does it feel so illusory? While Knight Sorrow sighed, he also knew that the rules of this small world were set by the ancestor Phoenix Sovereign. He had to face this divine king Earth Dragon that had advanced to a high-level divine king. A few days ago, he had been able to rely on Tianyun Bao to defeat high-level divine king opponents because the two dark divine kings had come to the divine world from the dark abyss and lost most of their strength. On the surface, they appeared to be high-level divine kings, but in reality, they only had the strength of a middle-level divine king. But now, the King-class Earth Dragon had truly advanced to a high-level divine king. A high-level divine king against a low-level divine lord. Even with the help of a sovereign weapon, death is certain. After advancing to a high-level divine king, the King-class Earth Dragon's aura had become much more terrifying. He coldly threatened Knight Sorrow and blasted out a strike. This time, Knight Sorrow used the Samsara halberd to unleash the same forbidden spear strike, but he was unable to block it at all. At the crucial moment, Tianyun Bao released a defensive energy that prevented Knight Sorrow from being seriously injured. The gap between a low-level divine lord and a true high-level divine king was too great. Even though Knight Sorrow was astonishingly talented and had a deep foundation, it was still very difficult for him to fight. Heavenly Cloud 5 Elemental Arrow. After being sent flying, Knight Sorrow stabilized himself in the void and immediately shot the Heavenly Cloud 5 Elemental Arrow at the King-class Earth Dragon. However, the 5 Elements arrow that had once killed an Earth Dragon at the level of a lower divine king was directly neutralized after it was shot out this time. Even my strongest attack can't harm it. It seems like there's no point in continuing this battle. The King-class Earth Dragon's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Knight Sorrow made a quick assessment and determined that he was currently no match for it. He used the profound heaven-roaming dragon art and began to flee. However, the King-class Earth Dragon, which had advanced to a high-level Divine King, was also terrifyingly fast. Even after using the profound heaven-roaming dragon art, Knight Sorrow was still unable to shake off the distance between them. What should I do? As the King-class Earth Dragon continued to close in on him, Knight Sorrow kept thinking of a solution. If he kept fleeing in the void, he would definitely be caught. After pondering for a while, Knight Sorrow dived directly into the lava on the ground. You can't even escape in the void. If you enter the lava controlled by this king, you'll die even faster. Seeing Knight Sorrow fleeing into the lava, the King-class Earth Dragon immediately let out a raging roar. However, its speed did not decrease at all and it continued to chase after him. It seems like I have to take a risk. Knight Sorrow, who was fleeing, immediately used his divine soul to control Tianyun Bao and made Tianyun Bao fly out of the lava swamp. As for himself, he dived into the lava swamp. When the King-class Earth Dragon saw Knight Sorrow and Tianyun Bao fleeing in different directions, it hesitated for a while and immediately chased after the Dominator Divine Weapon Tianyun Bao. In its opinion, Knight Sorrow was no more than an ant to it and was no longer a threat. However, the Dominator Divine Weapon Tianyun Bao was something that could change its fate. It was obvious that it would make such a choice. When the King-class Earth Dragon chased after Tianyun Bao, Knight Sorrow immediately entered the Clear Sky Pagoda and used all kinds of resources to cultivate. Currently, he was at a complete disadvantage when facing the King-class Earth Dragon. The main reason was that his cultivation level was too low. Currently, his power of merit, first godly soul, and the toughness of his body had basically reached the level of a middle-level Divine Lord. He was prepared to quickly raise his cultivation level to that level. As long as he broke through to the level of a middle-level Divine Lord, with the heavenly Samsara Halberd and Tianyun Bao as his support, he could once again attempt to challenge the King-class Earth Dragon. Brother Knight Sorrow, you have to do your best. Before Knight Sorrow began to cultivate, Cao Linger said with tears in her eyes. She was very worried about Knight Sorrow's safety and her own fate. Knight Sorrow was suppressed to the point that he even had to throw out Tianyun Bao. This made her very afraid. Chapter 2768. Linger believes that Big Brother Knight Sorrow can bring Linger through this crisis. Cao Linger said timidly and found a spot to cultivate in the vast heaven pagoda. It was just that she was born extremely sensitive and could not calm her heart at all. After Cao Linger left, Knight Sorrow calmed his mind in an instant and entered a cultivation state. The current him forgot about Jing Yun and Wu Ling Fei, forgot about his family, even forgot about Tianyun Bao and the King-rank Earth Dragon, wholeheartedly immersing himself into cultivation. With the help of the immortal divine art, driven by the power of virtue, spending 400 years, Knight Sorrow finally raised his cultivation to middle-level Divine Lord level. After easily transcending the tribulation, he thoroughly became a Divine Lord in name and in reality. Inside the vast heaven pagoda, 400 years passed. In the outside world 4 years should have passed. I wonder how Tianyun Bao is doing. Standing in the small world anew, Knight Sorrow felt the powerful strength brought about by middle-level Divine Lord realm. Immediately, a strong confidence in defeating the King-rank Earth Dragon rose. But 4 years had already passed. Tianyun Bao had already left Knight Sorrow's perception range long ago. Searching for a while in the scorching small world, he still did not find any clues. The King-rank Earth Dragon was also completely not in the lava swamp. Tianyun Bao himself did not have an artifact spirit. Knight Sorrow was somewhat worried. Linger, come out and help Big Brother Knight Sorrow to sense. See if you can find Tianyun Bao's aura. Seriously, without any way, he summoned Cao Linger out from the vast heaven pagoda. Cao Linger appeared in the scorching small world and immediately felt very uncomfortable. That kind of heat, she could not quite withstand it. At this time, Knight Sorrow released his divine domain, enveloping her inside. Thank you, Big Brother Knight Sorrow. Only then did Cao Linger feel much more comfortable use her dual horns to sense. Sensing for a while, she furrowed her brows and said, "Directly east. Can't sense exactly how far away." "Good. Let's head east." Cao Linger sensed Tianyun Bao's aura. Night Sorrow immediately relaxed and rushed towards the east. After traveling at full speed towards the east for 7 days and 7 nights, Night Sorrow suddenly heard the sound of fierce fighting ahead. He immediately drew a concealment array around himself and began to observe. It was a battle between a king-tier earth dragon and a divine king realm fire dragon sparrow. Tianyun Bao, on the other hand, floated in the void, radiating brilliance. It was obvious that the two of them were fighting over Tianyun Bao. After fighting for a while, the fire dragon sparrow and the earth dragon king stopped. After recovering for a while, the earth dragon said, "You and I have been fighting for 4 years, and we are still evenly matched. It's time to think of a solution today." Find a way? What could he do? Whoever obtains the sovereign artifact will be able to pass the trial set by the Lord, leave this small world, and obtain the fortuitous opportunity left by the Lord. The fire dragon sparrow laughed disdainfully. "Are you going to let me have the sovereign artifact? Naturally, it's impossible for me to give it to you, but we can use it together to leave this small world." The Earth Dragon King replied in a deep voice. The two of them were emitting intense flames. If the high god Cao Linger was outside, she wouldn't be able to withstand the flames. Pass the trial? What trial is it? Night Sorrow, who was hiding in the concealment array, was immediately curious after hearing the fire dragon sparrow's words. After all, he had come to this small world to pass the trial. Now, it seemed that the trial was the same for him and the other king-tier life forms. Whoever passed the trial first would obtain the fortuitous opportunity left behind by the ancestor phoenix. I wonder how Jing Yun and Aunt Fei are doing now. If the trial they received was the same as mine, then it would be too difficult for them to pass. Even if they could protect themselves, who knows how many years it would take for them to pass the trial. Thinking about Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow began to worry. Although the two of them had good bloodline talents, they didn't have the strength to defeat the Divine King. If the trial was the same, it would be very difficult for them. Haha. Use it together? Then who will use Tianyun Bao at the crucial moment? The Fire Dragon Sparrow didn't believe the Earth Dragon King at all. 4 years ago, when the Heavenly Cloud Bao reached this place, it completely lost control and floated quietly in the void. The Fire Dragon Sparrow, who happened to be passing by, immediately started fighting with the Earth Dragon King. The two fought for 4 years, using all their means, but still unable to determine a victor. If I call back Tianyun Bao now, I might be pursued by the two of them. I should be able to defeat the Earth Dragon King or the Fire Dragon Sparrow with my current strength. But if the two of them work together, it will be very difficult to deal with. Night Sorrow put away his worries, hid his aura, and patiently observed the battle between the Earth Dragon King and the Fire Dragon Sparrow. Right now, he could use his godly soul to summon Tianyun Bao, but that would make him a target for everyone. Therefore, he didn't choose to do anything. Instead, he patiently observed and waited for the right opportunity. At this time, the Earth Dragon King continued to talk to the Fire Dragon Sparrow. "The two of us are the weakest kings in this small world. If we continue to hesitate and stay here, we will encounter other experts. You should know what the consequences will be. This is the intersection of our territories. The other 5 kings have no reason to be here." The Fire Dragon Sparrow was still unmoved by the Earth Dragon King's words. This made the Earth Dragon King very unhappy. After a moment of silence he continued, "That's when they don't know about the Dominator Divine Artifact. Now, I will spread the news about the Dominator Divine Artifact." "You are crazy!" The Fire Dragon Sparrow roared angrily. "The situation is a bit complicated. We can only wait and see what happens." After hearing the conversation between the Earth Dragon King and the Fire Dragon Sparrow, Night Sorrow knew that things weren't going well. If his guess was correct, another king-level entity would be arriving soon. It was impossible for the Earth Dragon to summon all 5 king-level entities at once. His biggest advantage was that he had received Tianyun Bao's acknowledgement and could summon him at any time. However, he definitely couldn't summon him at this time. Otherwise, he would be chased endlessly in this small world. Is it possible to form an alliance with the kings here? At this time, Night Sorrow began to consider this possibility. The kings in this small world were undoubtedly very eager to leave. However, they had been trapped here for many years and were definitely very suspicious. It would be difficult to convince them. With this thought in mind, Knight Sorrow felt that this matter could be considered, but he needed the right opportunity. Therefore, he quietly waited for the other kings to arrive. The Fire Bat King is about to arrive. Dragon Sparrow King, what do you think? Chapter 2769. Attitude? You are inviting a wolf into your house. The Fire Bat King is ranked 4th among the 7 kings, but his nature is the most savage. Aren't you courting death by summoning him? The Dragon Sparrow King looked at the Earth Dragon King with anger. If we don't have the Dominator artifact, the two of us might not be his opponent. But if we join forces now, killing him is not difficult at all. The Earth Dragon King said coldly. He continued, however, if you don't agree to cooperate, think about what will happen to you. Between his brows, there was always a trace of confidence. How can this king be sure that you didn't join forces with him? The Dragon Sparrow King looked at the Earth Dragon King with suspicion. Their territories were adjacent and they understood each other's nature very well. I swear, as long as you cooperate with me and let me temporarily control Tianyun Bao, I will bring you out of this small world. The Earth Dragon King said solemnly. No matter what you say, don't you still want to take the Dominator artifact for yourself? I don't agree. The Dragon Sparrow King's face was full of anger. He was not as tactful as the Earth Dragon King, and did not have any friendship with the other kings in the small world. At this moment, he was extremely passive. Hee. It doesn't matter if you don't agree. When the Fire Bat King arrives, you will be the first to be killed. The Earth Dragon King continued, think about it, is the Dominator artifact more important than your life? Don't threaten me. Even if I die in battle, I won't let a loach like you get the Dominator artifact. At worst, I will cooperate with the Fire Bat King to kill you and let you draw water with a sieve. The Dragon Sparrow King clearly did not want to lower his head to the Earth Dragon King. Then let's wait and see. The Earth Dragon King's face revealed a trace of a cold smile. It was very obvious that he had his own plans. See, I think you should just go and die. The Dragon Sparrow King did not have any advantage in interpersonal relationships. At this moment, he ignited his bloodline power and attacked the Earth Dragon King again. I knew you would fight with your life on the line. This king is not afraid of you. The Earth Dragon King also ignited his bloodline power and fought against the Dragon Sparrow King. Hee. I don't believe that with your strength, you can scheme against the Fire Bat King. In the end, you won't be able to obtain the sovereign artifact. After Dragon Sparrow King exploded, his entire body burned with fire. He looked like a phoenix. You don't have to worry about how to scheme. The Earth Dragon King had a well-thought-out appearance. Seeing the situation in front of him, even Knight Sorrow could not figure out where the Earth Dragon King's confidence came from. If he had some powerful trump card, wouldn't it be better to just kill Dragon Sparrow King directly? If he didn't have a backup plan to summon the Fire Bat King, he would feel very uncomfortable. I understand. The Earth Dragon King's scheme was very likely not only about Tianyun Bao. With his strength, he could not set up such a grand scheme at all. Behind him, there should be an extremely powerful king. After carefully pondering for a while, Knight Sorrow recalled the matter of the Earth Dragon King continuously increasing its strength in his territory. Suddenly, he figured out some things. The 7 kings in this small world should all have very terrifying methods in their own territories. At this moment, Tianyun Bao was staying here. It should be because the person behind him wanted to use the sovereign artifact to lure the king out. As for why he would continuously fight with Dragon Sparrow King for 4 years, it should be because he wanted to complete the show. While Knight Sorrow was pondering, the Earth Dragon King and Dragon Sparrow King were still fighting to a draw. However, Dragon Sparrow King's expression had completely changed. He realized that no matter how much he increased his strength, the Earth Dragon King would always be able to fight to a draw with him. This proved that the Earth Dragon King's true strength should be stronger than his. Since he is stronger than this king, why did he waste 4 years? Dragon Sparrow King, who discovered this problem, immediately panicked. He understood that things were not simple. He completely realized that whether it was him or his territory, they were all chess pieces in the hands of the Earth Dragon King. Who is behind you? Dragon Sparrow King, who reacted, immediately panicked. You've thought it through? Then I can't let you stay. Go in peace. Originally, I wanted to let you wait for the Fire Bat King. Suddenly, the Earth Dragon King erupted with the strongest strength he had when fighting with Night Sorrow. If Night Sorrow could use his divine sense to investigate, he would be able to confirm that the Earth Dragon King had been hiding his strength in the battle just now. Conspiracy. There is a conspiracy here. The sovereign artifact is a conspiracy. The Earth Dragon King suddenly erupted. Dragon Sparrow King, who realized that something was wrong, immediately began to escape. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "Hee hee!" After transmitting the message to the Fire Bat King, this king sealed off the surroundings. What's the use of shouting? Go to hell. The Earth Dragon King laughed. Your mission is already over. After speaking, he made his move and prepared to completely end Dragon Sparrow King. He had already sensed the aura of the Fire Bat King. He was prepared to kill Dragon Sparrow King and pretend to be heavily injured to let the Fire Bat King enter the trap. However, at this time, the Earth Dragon King, who was slightly absent-minded, discovered that Dragon Sparrow King had actually completely disappeared in front of him. What's going on? How did he do it? The Earth Dragon King, who used his divine sense to investigate, could not find any trace of Dragon Sparrow King. It was as if he had completely disappeared. The Fire Bat King was about to arrive, but Dragon Sparrow King had disappeared in front of him. He was very worried that this would cause unnecessary trouble. Because the Fire Bat King's backer, the Fire Phoenix King, was the king that his backer, the Golden Luan King, wanted to deal with. The Fire Phoenix King was ranked second among the 7 kings. However, in the lava pool in her territory, she was immortal and could revive indefinitely. She had once injured the Golden Luan King in her territory and killed her spouse. The Golden Luan King, who was the strongest, had always wanted to get rid of her because of hatred. However, there was no way to lure the Fire Phoenix King out. Now that a sovereign artifact had appeared, she immediately had the thought of revenge. After all, no king could resist the temptation of a sovereign artifact. As long as they had a sovereign artifact in their hands, any one of them would have the opportunity to break through the barrier set by the Ancestor Phoenix, leave the small world in front of them, and obtain the opportunity left behind by the other party. The Fire Phoenix King obviously could not resist this temptation. Earth Dragon King, didn't you say that you were evenly matched with Dragon Sparrow King? Where's Dragon Sparrow King? Also, why did you choose to call this king over? If you don't have a reasonable explanation, you should know the consequences. After the Fire Bat King arrived, he discovered that only the Earth Dragon King was present. Beside him was the sovereign artifact Tianyun Bao. He immediately opened his mouth to question. He did not know that the Earth Dragon King was the Golden Luan King's subordinate. However, in front of the sovereign artifact, he was very cautious. Fire Bat King, you should have sensed my battle with Dragon Sparrow King just now. Chapter 2770. After speaking, the Earth Dragon King looked at the Fire Bat King. He said, "You may not believe me, but the ruler artifact is here. You can feel it yourself and see if it's real. What you said is very reasonable. Moreover, the bow in front of us is a complete ruler artifact." The Fire Bat King released his divine soul power and sensed for a moment. After confirming that the heavenly cloud bow was a dominator artifact, he no longer bothered himself with the question of why the Earth Dragon King had called him over. Instead, he opened his mouth and asked, "Where did this dominator artifact come from?" The Earth Dragon King felt that there was nothing to hide in this matter. He immediately replied, "4 years ago, the person appointed by the Ancestor Phoenix entered my territory with this ruler artifact. However, he was defeated by me and abandoned the ruler artifact to escape. I chased after the ruler artifact all the way here. After arriving here, I engaged in a fierce battle with the Dragon Sparrow King for 4 years. I couldn't do anything to him, so I transmitted my voice to you." That makes sense. However, after the Dragon Sparrow King used a secret technique to leave, why didn't you take the ruler artifact for yourself? As long as you had the ruler artifact, I wouldn't have been your opponent. The Fire Bat King flapped his wings in the void and continued to ask doubtfully. You arrived before I even had a chance to retrieve the sovereign artifact. If I took the ruler artifact in this situation, I would definitely be killed by you. The Earth Dragon King replied with an unhappy expression. It's good that you know. The Fire Bat King smiled and said, Don't worry. After obtaining the ruler artifact, I will give it to the Fire Phoenix King. She will bring us out of the small world. After speaking, the Fire Bat King reached out to take the Tianyun bow. Seeing the Fire Bat King reach out to take the Tianyun bow, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King in the Clear Sky Pagoda shook their heads at the same time. Just now, Night Sorrow had put the Dragon Sparrow King, who had nowhere to run, into the Clear Sky Pagoda. After hiding, the Dragon Sparrow King explained the distribution of forces in the small world. He also explained the conflict between the Fire Phoenix King and the Golden Luan King. After connecting all the dots, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King quickly understood the situation. He also guessed that if nothing unexpected happened, the third-ranked Golden Python King and the first-ranked Golden Luan King would be hiding in the void near Tianyun Bao. Furthermore, the Golden Python King would attack the Fire Bat King. Defeat her, lure the Fire Phoenix King here, and attack her. What Yishang wasn't sure about was whether the people hiding in the void had discovered his existence. Just now, he had come very secretly. It was reasonable to say that Golden Python King and King Jinwan, who could not use the power of the Divine Soul, should not have discovered his existence. Do you think the two of you are worthy of obtaining a sovereign artifact? While Night Sorrow was pondering the cause and effect of this matter, the Golden Python King emerged from the void just as the Firebat Dynasty's sovereign artifact Tianyun Bao stretched out his hand. It spat out very poisonous flames at the Firebat King. Haha! Do you think this king doesn't know of your schemes? Facing the Golden Python King's attack, the Firebat King smiled and immediately flapped his wings at the Golden Python King. The highly toxic flames were all dispersed to the surroundings. Haha! When this matter was first planned, it was a conspiracy. Now that it has developed to this point because of your arrival, it has become an open conspiracy. I don't believe that the Fire Phoenix King will watch you die without doing anything. The Golden Python King provoked. You are not a match for this king. Let King Jinwan come out. The Firebat King obviously did not take the Golden Python King seriously. Hearing this, the Golden Python King laughed and said, "Overestimating yourself is the right word to describe you." At the same time, he continued to attack. In fact, he also knew that the Firebat King and the Fire Phoenix King must know that King Jinwan was nearby. We all know that King Jinwan is here. If you want to fight, we will accompany you. The Firebat King, on the other hand, said indifferently and then started fighting with the Golden Python King. The reason why he chose to fight the Golden Python King despite knowing that King Jinwan was nearby was because he wanted to personally verify whether King Jinwan had already controlled the Dominator artifact. If King Jinwan controlled the Dominator artifact, the Fire Phoenix King would not come. Moreover, she would help the Firebat King resurrect. If King Jinwan did not control the Dominator artifact, the Fire Phoenix King would definitely come. The Dominator artifact was absolutely irresistible to them. It was enough to make them give up the unlimited resurrection lava pool in their territory. After that, the Firebat King and the Golden Python King each used their own methods and fought for 3 days and 3 nights. There was no sign of victory or defeat. King Jinwan, who was waiting in the void, sent a voice transmission to the Golden Python King, deliberately waterproof. Let him confirm that the Dominator artifact is not occupied by this king. Yes, Your Majesty. The Golden Python King originally wanted to let the Firebat King fall into a life-and-death crisis to lure the Fire Phoenix King out. However, after fighting for a few days, he discovered that his strength was actually on par with the Firebat King. Neither could do anything to the other. Therefore, he listened to King Jinwan's instructions and pretended to be defeated and fled, giving the Firebat King a chance to investigate Tianyun Bao. The Firebat King used the power of his soul to briefly investigate Tianyun Bao, and confirmed that there was absolutely no aura of King Jinwan on it. He immediately sent a voice transmission to the Fire Phoenix King. The Dominator artifact is not controlled by King Jinwan. However, there is the aura of the Challenger on it. The Dominator artifact was brought by the Challenger. It is normal for it to have his aura. After confirming that there was no aura of King Jinwan on Tianyun Bao, the Fire Phoenix King quickly descended on the scene. She was, as her name suggested, a huge fire phoenix. However, after descending, she immediately transformed into a human female cultivator. She quickly flew towards Tianyun Bao. You know that this king is here, yet you still dare to approach. It seems that you are willing to gamble your life for the Dominator artifact. Seeing that the Fire Phoenix King was closing in on Tianyun Bao's position, King Jinwan immediately walked out of the void. He blocked in front of the Fire Phoenix King and said coldly, "This king originally had the opportunity to take the Dominator artifact for himself, but he didn't do so in order to lure you out. Take revenge for killing his wife back then. She deserves to die. You deserve to die too." The Fire Phoenix King, who had transformed into her human form, was full of heroic spirit. She only said a few words and directly attacked King Jinwan. "Damn it, it's you!" King Jinwan let out a roar and rushed forward to meet them. While the Fire Phoenix King and King Jinwan were fighting, the Golden Python King, who had pretended to be defeated by the Fire Bat King, appeared again and fought with the Fire Bat King. Just as the Earth Dragon King was about to help the Golden Python King, the Fire Wyrm King suddenly appeared and fought with it. The two sides temporarily formed a situation of evenly matched strength. At this time, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the Dragon Sparrow King. "Are you sure that you can pass Lord Supreme's test like that?" "Of course I'm sure. Lord Supreme personally told us about this matter," the Dragon Sparrow King said with certainty. "You have to be clear that your life is tied to my body. If something happens to me, you will definitely die too." The two sides of the battle were evenly matched. Night Sorrow felt that the time to take back Tianyun Bao had arrived. He confirmed the key to passing the test with the Dragon Sparrow King. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Dragon Sparrow King said, "Since it's like this, why would I lie?" Chapter 2771. Don't! Please don't! When Dragon Sparrow King heard Night Sorrow's words, he was shocked. "I think we should wait until both sides are injured before making a move. Both of them are people that the two of us can contend against." "What you said makes sense, but things have gone awry. We have to make a move now." Night Sorrow, who had already activated the Sea Serpent's Eye, saw that there was a barrier around Tianyun Bao. After the Golden Luan King appeared and fought with the Fire Phoenix King, a clone of the Golden Luan King appeared. One of the Golden Luan King's doppelgangers appeared within the concealment boundary and began to collect the Heavenly Cloud Bao without anyone noticing. This was something that Night Sorrow could not tolerate. "Why must we make a move?" Dragon Sparrow King still did not understand Night Sorrow's decision. Seeing his hesitation, Night Sorrow shook his head and explained, "Right now, a clone of the Golden Luan King is trying to steal Tianyun Bao. If we don't make a move, Tianyun Bao will be taken away." "What? The Golden Luan King has a clone? You can see it because you have special eyes?" Dragon Sparrow King, who was looking at Tianyun Bao, was immediately shocked. He did not expect the Golden Luan King to have a clone. There was no doubt that if this stalemate continued, the Golden Luan King would become invincible once he obtained the Dominator artifact. He was already the strongest in this small world. "Yes, that's why we have to make a move now. I can summon Tianyun Bao, but the Golden Luan King's clone will definitely attack me. When the time comes, we'll deal with him together." Night Sorrow explained. "The others are basically in a stalemate. As long as we don't fight with our lives on the line, we'll be in a 2-on-1 situation. No matter how strong the Golden Luan King is, his clone will definitely not be able to defeat the two of us." "Not necessarily. The Golden Luan King's strength has already surpassed the Divine King's. The two of us might not be his match. However, if I have the Dominator artifact, his clone will definitely not be my match," Dragon Sparrow King said as he observed the battle. Hearing this, Night Sorrow glanced at him and said, "I believe you." Are you really going to lend me your sovereign artifact?" The Dragon Sparrow King, who had been observing the battle, immediately turned to look at Night Sorrow. "I said, I believe you. You control the Tianyun Bao and can suppress the Golden Luan King's clone. However, I believe that I am stronger than you, so there is no need for you to be in charge of Tianyun Bao," Night Sorrow said confidently. Then he shouted, "Do it! You, a middle divine lord, are stronger than this king?" When Night Sorrow summoned Tianyun Bao from the concealment array, the Dragon Sparrow Monarch muttered in disbelief. Night Sorrow didn't respond to the man's words. He continued to summon Tianyun Bao. "Not good. Tianyun Bao has been restricted." Night Sorrow immediately realized that something was wrong. He used his divine sense to control Tianyun Bao, but he couldn't break free from the Golden Luan King's restriction. After a moment of silence, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Dragon Sparrow King. Tianyun Bao can't break the array set up by the Golden One King. We need to attack immediately and break the array's defense. All right. It's a fight to the death no matter what. If we delay and allow the Golden One King to obtain the Dominator artifact, we will all die. The Dragon Sparrow King knew how bloodthirsty the Golden One King was. After Night Sorrow spoke, he didn't hesitate. He immediately took out a 5-colored magic treasure from his spatial artifact and threw it at Tianyun Bao. What's going on? Is someone after the Dominator artifact? The moment the Dragon Sparrow King made his move, he was discovered by some of the people fighting. When they saw that it was the Dragon Sparrow King, the Golden One King, who was fighting the Fire Phoenix King, immediately roared, "How dare you try to steal the Dominator artifact while we are fighting? Dragon Sparrow King, how dare you?" At the same time, he blasted the Fire Phoenix King aside and pounced at the Dragon Sparrow King. The Golden One King is using his clone to steal the Dominator artifact. The Dragon Sparrow King was so scared that he immediately retreated when he saw the Golden One King attacking him. Although he wasn't very strong, his speed was ranked 3rd among the 7 kings. He wasn't immediately caught by the Golden One King. What? The Golden One King has a clone and is trying to steal the Dominator artifact? After hearing the Dragon Sparrow King's words, the people who hadn't noticed the Golden One King's scheme immediately turned to look at Tianyun Bao. At this time, Night Sorrow activated the Treya battle secret technique. After becoming a mid-level Divine Lord, he could use the battle secret technique to increase his strength by 20 times. After his strength increased, Night Sorrow wielded the half-step Dominator artifact, the Heavenly Samsara Halberd, and directly attacked the array set up by the Golden One King's clone. Under these circumstances, he didn't have the time to think about how to break the array. He could only use brute force. As for the consequences, there was no time to consider. Boom! While everyone was still hesitating, the Dragon Sparrow King and Yi Shang's attacks landed on the array formation one after another. However, although their attacks caused serious damage to the array, they didn't immediately break it. The Fire Phoenix King and the others immediately understood that the Dragon Sparrow King was not lying when they saw their attacks being obstructed by the formation. As the Golden One King chased after the Dragon Sparrow King, the Fire Phoenix King, who had no one to stop her, immediately spat out a mouthful of dense phoenix flames in the direction of Tianyun Bao. After being burned by the phoenix flames, the array, which had already been damaged by Night Sorrow, immediately began to leak out. This time, everyone was completely certain that the Tianyun Bao they'd seen before was just an illusion. The Golden One King was secretly using his clone to secretly attack the Dominator artifact. Bastards! You're courting death! The Golden One King, who had been chasing after the Dragon Sparrow King, immediately turned back in anger when he saw Night Sorrow and the Fire Phoenix King attacking the array. He wanted to stop the two of them. As he turned back, he discovered that Night Sorrow was only a mid-level Divine Lord. The Golden One King angrily rebuked, "How dare a mere Divine Lord Ant ruin this king's plans? Even if the Ancestor Phoenix is reborn, he won't be able to save you today." As he rebuked, he, who had transformed into his human form, viciously sent a palm strike at Night Sorrow. In his opinion, a mid-level Divine Lord wouldn't be able to withstand his attack. At the same time, the Golden One King looked at the Fire Phoenix King and said, "So what if you discovered me? What can you do to me? Aren't you blindly overconfident?" Night Sorrow sneered when he saw the Golden One King speak to the Fire Phoenix King as he attacked. With the help of the Sea Serpent Eye, he'd analyzed the path of the Golden One King's attack and used the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array to confine it. Finally, he'd used the Samsara Halberd to unleash a new Forbidden Spear Strike. When the half-step Dominator artifact struck the Golden One King's palm, he staggered from the impact. What's going on? The Golden One King hadn't expected Night Sorrow to be able to withstand his attack and cause such a huge backlash. He immediately felt embarrassed. The invincible Golden One King of the small world is only so. Chapter 2772. Night Sorrow discovered that the new Forbidden Spear was terrifyingly powerful, far more powerful than he'd expected. It was actually able to send the Golden One King, a Divine King, flying. He was extremely confident that this spear would be able to break through the defense of the array. "You're courting death, Ant." Seeing Night Sorrow attack the array again, The enraged Golden Yuan King attacked him again. You want to kill someone? This king won't let you. On the other side, seeing the Golden Yuan King's ferocity, the Fire Phoenix King slashed out with her Phoenix Feather Sword. The Phoenix Feather Sword was brightly colored. When it slashed out, it looked like a rainbow, but it didn't look peaceful at all. As it radiated light, it exploded with an extremely violent energy. She's even taken out her natal artifact? Seeing the Fire Phoenix King take out her Phoenix Feather Sword, the Golden Yuan King, who was attacking Night Sorrow, immediately retracted his attack. He quickly dodged the attack. At the same time, he took out a long spear made of golden yuan feathers from his spatial artifact and faced the attack. The Fire Phoenix King took out her half-step sovereign-level natal artifact. The Golden Yuan King didn't dare underestimate her. At this time, Night Sorrow used his forbidden spear to break through the array set up by the Golden Yuan King's clone. Tianyun Bao! Come back! After breaking through the array, Night Sorrow used the power of his spirit to control Tianyun Bao while shooting the forbidden spear at the Golden Yuan King's clone. The Golden Yuan King's clone, which had been using a secret technique to restrain Tianyun Bao, clearly knew the power of Night Sorrow's attack. It immediately diverted its attention to resist the forbidden spear. At this time, Night Sorrow seized the opportunity to pour a large amount of blood into Tianyun Bao. Tianyun Bao, who had been activated by the blood, instantly released a radiance that caused the heavens and earth to change color. With a hum, it broke free from the Golden Yuan King's restraints and flew back to Night Sorrow's hand. I'll help you kill the Golden Yuan King. After taking back Tianyun Bao, Night Sorrow immediately sent a sound transmission to Fire Phoenix King and took out the Sky Cloud arrow from his spatial artifact. He drew his bow and shot an arrow at the Golden Yuan King's clone. Good. I'll kill his true body. When Fire Phoenix King saw Night Sorrow put away Tianyun Bao, her eyes flashed with regret. At the same time, she also felt lucky. For her, Tianyun Bao returning to Night Sorrow's hands was something she could accept. If it fell into the hands of the Golden Yuan King, it would definitely be a nightmare. When Night Sorrow fired a Sky Cloud arrow at the Golden Yuan King's avatar, the Dragon Sparrow King, who had fled far away, returned to the vicinity and pondered whether or not he should make a move. It was clear that he had offended the Golden Yuan King today. If the Golden Yuan King won this battle, he would not have a good ending. What are you waiting for? If you have any trump cards, throw them at the Golden Yuan King's avatar. Yishang had 2 deity Cs. One deity C's soul power was used for battle, while the other deity C's soul power was used for scouting. With Tianyun Bao in his hands, he was obviously a target for everyone. He had to guard against everyone present. Good. Today, let's kill the Golden Yuan King together. Dragon Sparrow King received Night Sorrow's sound transmission and no longer hesitated. He took out a green lamp from his spatial artifact and ran into the void. He gradually floated towards the Golden Yuan King's avatar. When he was 100 feet away, the green lamp emitted an extremely peaceful light. Enveloped by this light, the Golden Yuan King's avatar immediately felt his eyelids grow heavy. It was obvious that he could not open his eyes. Quick! Attack him quickly! The avatar of the Golden Yuan King, who had just used a divine artifact to block Yishang's Sky Cloud arrow, was too weak to care about anything else. Enveloped by the faint light of the green lamp, the Dragon Sparrow King immediately shouted towards Yishang. Sky Cloud 5 Elemental Arrow. Actually, even without Dragon Sparrow King's reminder, Night Sorrow could sense that the Golden Yuan King's avatar was in a very bad state. Without any hesitation, he took out 5 Sky Cloud arrows and shot out the 5 Elemental Arrow. This was the first time Night Sorrow had used the 5 Elemental Arrow after becoming a mid-level Divine Lord. He was looking forward to seeing the power of this move. Boom! 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 5 consecutive arrows landed on the body of King Jinalwan's avatar, causing it to be severely injured. Damn it! I didn't expect you 2 ants to be able to work together like this. Seeing that his avatar was heavily injured, Golden Yuan King's original body angrily shouted. He used a secret technique to merge his avatar with his original body. Although his avatar was already heavily injured, Golden Yuan King's strength still increased by half a level after merging with his original body. Originally, he was evenly matched with the Fire Phoenix King and even had the upper hand. When his strength increased again, he became even more terrifying. However, he now needed to rely on his own strength to fight Night Sorrow, Dragon Sparrow King, and Fire Phoenix King. He was clearly not their match. We are not their match. Quickly think of a way to retreat to this king's territory. Golden Luan King was also someone who had fought a decisive battle. He was no match for them now, so he immediately sent a message to the Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King, asking them to think of a way to escape. Yes, Luan King. Understood. Lord Luan King. The Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King answered one after another. They started to burn their bloodline, wanting to find a chance to escape in a desperate situation. Everyone, use all your strength to stop the Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King. The Golden Luan King chose to escape. Everyone, including the Fire Phoenix King, could not stop him. After the Golden Luan King escaped, the Fire Phoenix King immediately sent a message to Night Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King, asking them to help stop the Golden Python King and Earth Dragon King. Okay. But please leave the Earth Dragon King to me. Night Sorrow replied to the Fire Phoenix King and shot a Heaven Cloud arrow at the Earth Dragon King. He, who was originally suppressed by his realm, had now advanced to a Middle Celestial Lord. When he shot the Heaven Cloud arrow, its power was completely incomparable to when he was a Lower Celestial Lord. In just 4 years, its power has increased by so much. The Earth Dragon King, who was originally fighting with the Fire Wyrm King, immediately panicked when he saw the power of the Heaven Cloud arrow shot by Night Sorrow become so great. He could sense that this arrow was already qualitatively different from the one from back then. Just as the Earth Dragon King was using a secret technique to increase his strength and was preparing to completely shake off the Fire Wyrm King, the Heaven Cloud arrow shot towards him. The Heaven Cloud arrow that was shot out had already arrived in front of it. The Earth Dragon King completely had no way of dodging. It could only take out a broken shield from its spatial artifact and use it to block in front of itself. Boom! When the Heavenly Cloud arrow hit the shield, it immediately shattered the entire shield. My King-grade divine artifact. After the shield was shattered by the Heaven Cloud arrow, the Earth Dragon King roared gloomily. You'd better worry about your own safety. Night Sorrow mocked the Earth Dragon King when he shot the Heaven Cloud arrow in his hand and took the initiative. Chapter 2773. Yes. Lord Fire Phoenix King. Good. Let's kill him together. The Fire Serpent King and the Fire Bat King both replied before using their strongest movement techniques to chase after the fleeing Golden Python King. The Golden Python King was faster than the Fire Drake King and the Fire Bat King. But before he could get far, he found that the Fire Phoenix King had already blocked his way. Seeing that he had nowhere to run, the Golden Python King immediately knelt down and said, "The Golden Python King is willing to fight for the Fire Phoenix King in the future. Please spare the Golden Python King's life." Spare you? Golden Python King. Stop dreaming. You will die today without a doubt. Seeing the Golden Python King beg for mercy, his old opponent, the Fire Bat King, immediately smiled contemptuously. He mocked and continued, "You should know that the winner takes all. Go in peace." Go in peace. Fire Bat King. Can you represent the Fire Phoenix King? The Golden Python King asked coldly. Of course the Fire Bat King can represent me. The Fire Phoenix King who blocked the Golden Python King said indifferently and continued, "If you want to blame someone, blame the Golden Luan King who left you behind and ran away. Kill." Yes. The Fire Bat King who had transformed into a human heard the Fire Phoenix King's words and looked at the Golden Python King with a cruel gaze. After hearing the Fire Phoenix King's judgment and seeing the Fire Bat King's gaze, the Golden Python King lowered his head in despair. He knew that no matter how he resisted, he was no match for the 3 kings in front of him. He couldn't even pose a threat to them. Forget it. The winner takes all. You can do it. After fighting for a while and confirming that he had no ability to resist, the Golden Python King gave up. This is the price you have to pay for helping the evildoer. You know how many evil deeds you have done by the Golden Luan King's side all these years. The Fire Bat King was an old opponent of the Golden Python King and killed him with a single sentence. After killing the Golden Python King, the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Drake King all locked their gazes on Night Sorrow's battle. At this time, Night Sorrow, who was holding the Tianyun bow, was in the middle of a white-hot battle with the Earth Dragon King. In the past, because Night Sorrow's cultivation had been suppressed, He had no chance of defeating his opponent at all. But now that he had broken through to the Middle Divine Lord realm, the situation was completely different. In just 4 short years, you've reached the Middle Divine King level. That's nothing. How did his strength increase so much? The Earth Dragon King, who was fighting Night Sorrow, had already seen the Golden Python King being killed. It knew that it would be hard for it to escape today. Even if he was going to die, he was going to drag someone down with him. Therefore, after falling into a disadvantageous position, he began to burn his bloodline power. However, after fighting for a while, the Earth Dragon King discovered that even if it heated up its bloodline, it was still not Night Sorrow's opponent. They began to use all kinds of divine talismans and magic treasures, all of which were self-detonating attacks. Even though Night Sorrow had a Dominator artifact and a half-step Dominator artifact in his hands, facing the frantically counterattacking Earth Dragon King, he still felt quite a bit of pressure. Luckily, the Earth Dragon King's wealth was limited. Not long after it was used up. However, after it was used up, the Earth Dragon King said coldly without hesitation, "Even if this king dies, I won't let you have an easy time." After yelling, he directly charged towards Night Sorrow, preparing to self-detonate and perish together with him. Seeing that the Earth Dragon King actually chose to self-detonate, the gazes of the Fire Phoenix King and the others all became serious. However, none of them helped. In fact, if Night Sorrow died in battle, the Dominator artifact Tianyun Bao would become an ownerless item. In the battle, you already understood my methods. Why would you still self-detonate to attack me? Facing the self-detonating Earth Dragon King, Night Sorrow continuously used the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array and the Virtuous Dragon Locking Array. While binding it temporarily, he himself quickly escaped. At the same time, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Dragon Sparrow King. "In the past, just in case, quickly leave with me. We'll pass the test and leave this small world." He promised to take the Dragon Sparrow King away and didn't want to go back on his word. In addition, Night Sorrow didn't dare to trust the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Dragon King. Putting himself in their shoes, the temptation of a Dominator artifact was too great for them. The challenger used the Earth Dragon King's self-detonation as an opportunity to escape. "Fire Phoenix King, should we chase after him?" the Fire Bat King asked after seeing Night Sorrow escape. "Forget it. After all, the challenger helped us defeat the Golden Luan King's faction. If we attack him now, we'll be too ungrateful." The Fire Phoenix King stared in the direction that Night Sorrow disappeared and said coldly, "This king gave him a year's time. If he can't pass the test within a year, we'll take the Dominator artifact. If he can pass the test within a year, the opportunity left behind by the Ancestor Phoenix will be taken away," the Fire Bat King said unwillingly. Hearing this, the Fire Phoenix King shook her head and said, "Even if he was chosen by the Ancestor, he's someone with great luck. There's nothing wrong with obtaining an opportunity. Don't forget that you and I were once very mediocre in the God realm. We've already received a great favor from the Ancestor Phoenix." "That's true. If we weren't guarding this place for the Ancestor Phoenix, we wouldn't have had the chance to break through to the King realm." The Fire Bat King nodded. He was also grateful when the Ancestor Phoenix was mentioned. While they were talking about this, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King had already left. On the way to the challenge area, Night Sorrow looked at the Dragon Sparrow King and said, "Tell me the details of the challenge. I'm sure you've tried many times over the years, right?" "Indeed, it's just that no matter what everyone did, they all returned empty-handed." The Dragon Sparrow King nodded and said, "Until recently, a challenger confirmed before his death that he needed some special energy to pass the test. Thus, everyone concluded that he must have a Dominator artifact to pass the test." "Special energy?" Hearing the Dragon Sparrow King's words, Night Sorrow was certain. If he wanted to pass the test, the focus might not be on Tianyun Bao. He guessed that the test might use the power of virtue. That's right. An ordinary divine king wouldn't be able to pass the test at all. This is also the reason why everyone fought for the Dominator artifact when they found it. The Dragon Sparrow King continued to explain to Night Sorrow as they traveled. Originally, the Ancestor Phoenix's challenge was to enter an illusory realm. However, just as the Dragon Sparrow King talked about the illusory realm, he suddenly heard Night Sorrow's voice transmission. "The Golden Luan King's aura, he's following us. But don't do anything strange, or he'll notice. After sending a voice transmission to the Dragon Sparrow King, Night Sorrow used both the Sea Serpent's Eye and Divine Sense to search for the Golden Luan King. During the search, Night Sorrow didn't make any big movements, as he didn't want to alert the enemy. Where is the Golden Luan King? The Dragon Sparrow King immediately transmitted his voice when he heard that the Golden Luan King was following them. Just now, his aura leaked out, and I sensed it. I think it has something to do with his injuries. Chapter 2774. I realize that although you are only a middle celestial lord, your strength, methods and temperament are all outstanding. No wonder the Lord chose you to be the challenger. The Dragon Sparrow King praised from the bottom of his heart. If not for Night Sorrow, he would have been killed by the Earth Dragon King. Ancestor Phoenix has his own reasons for doing things. Night Sorrow knew that the Dragon Sparrow King had given him this opportunity because of the Eternal Supreme World. However, he would not say much about it. Let's not talk about this. The Golden Luan King is eyeing us covetously. Let me tell you about some of his techniques. The Dragon Sparrow King saw that Night Sorrow did not want to continue talking about Ancestor Phoenix, so he immediately changed the topic to the Golden Luan King. Finally, he said, "Of course, I really don't know about the doppelganger technique. This is the first time he has used it. Are you afraid? What do you want to say to ease your tension?" The Dragon Sparrow King, who had not much to say, started talking non-stop when he heard that the Golden Luan King was nearby. Night Sorrow was speechless. Afraid. Indeed. After all, the Golden Luan King is the strongest among the 7 kings. I wonder what kind of strength he will unleash when he goes all out. The Dragon Sparrow King did not show any emotion on his face. However, when he transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, he was already panicking. Based on my judgment, even if the two of us have Dominator Divine weapons, we might not be his match. Therefore, we must take advantage of his hesitation to set up a formation. Use the power of the formation to deal with him. Night Sorrow said to the Dragon Sparrow King as he quietly set up the formation. Actually, we don't just have to guard against the Golden Luan King. The more dangerous one is the Fire Phoenix King. The Fire Phoenix King? Didn't she let us go after she won? The Dragon Sparrow King did not understand. She must know that the Golden Luan King will come to deal with us. Do you think she will let the Golden Luan King take away the Dominator Divine weapon? Night Sorrow asked the Dragon Sparrow King. The Dragon Sparrow King, who was already afraid, became even more panicked. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that the Fire Phoenix King would not give the Golden Luan King any chance. In this situation, it was very likely that she had set up a trap to deal with the Golden Luan King. As for whether or not she was after the ruler artifact, it shouldn't be hard to determine. So for now, things may be very complicated. Night Sorrow said. Although he wasn't 100% sure of Fire Phoenix King's intentions, he felt that he had to consider every possibility. If the Fire Phoenix King had left him and the Dragon Sparrow King behind, not only would the Golden Luan King have reaped the benefits, but she would also have joined forces with Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. If that happened, things would be difficult to handle. She was retreating in order to advance. No matter what, it would only be beneficial to her. Fire Phoenix King is really not simple. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, the Dragon Sparrow King felt that things were getting more and more complicated. He couldn't help but ask timidly, if things are really like this, what are our chances of winning? Just do your best. The array was ready. Let's go to the surface and find a cave to rest. Wait for the other party to take the bait. At this point, Night Sorrow had already finished setting up the array. At this time, there was still a certain distance between them and the stage. He couldn't leave the area covered by the array. Alright, let's see if the Golden Luan King will take the bait. Dragon Sparrow King felt that the Golden Luan King would be a complete idiot if she made a move against Night Sorrow, who had the help of a ruler artifact, who was fighting in his own formation, and who had the Fire Phoenix King eyeing them covetously. Take the bait? Based on the current situation, he has to take the bait. As for the outcome, it will depend on his choice. Night Sorrow said confidently. The Fire Phoenix King had a strong army while the Golden Luan King was alone. If the situation didn't change, the Golden Luan King's fate would be very miserable. Alright. Then let's wait while we prepare some methods. The Dragon Sparrow King went into the cave. As he recovered his divine Yuan Qi, he began to create king-grade god talismans. For the divine king, creating god talismans was usually given to a divine lord to use. The god talismans created by the Dragon Sparrow King were very special. They could be used to increase one's speed, especially one's escape speed. This was one of the main reasons why he could escape from the Golden Yuan King's pursuit. After he was done, he handed 3 god talismans to Knight Sorrow and said, "If the situation doesn't look good, immediately activate the god talisman. It will increase your speed by 3 times. Increase my speed by 3 times? Your god talisman has such an effect? If you had told us earlier, we wouldn't have needed to set up the array. We could have just sped up and headed to the stage." Knight Sorrow, who was also preparing, said regretfully when he heard the Dragon Sparrow King's words. "I've already used up all the god talismans I had just now. If we were to create god talismans recklessly in the void, the Golden Yuan King would definitely do something about it." The Dragon Sparrow King explained. "That's true. However, with these 3 god talismans, we can definitely advance and retreat as we wish." Knight Sorrow, who had kept the 3 god talismans, suddenly felt that their chances of winning had increased significantly. "It's here." After that, Knight Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King made some preparations and waited for 2 months. The Golden Yuan King finally couldn't take it anymore. He entered the array and headed straight for the cave where the 2 of them were hiding. The moment he entered the array, Knight Sorrow sensed it and informed the Dragon Sparrow King. When the Dragon Sparrow King heard that the Golden Yuan King had arrived, he was a little afraid. However, when he saw how confident Knight Sorrow was, he regained some confidence. "You were born a coward?" Knight Sorrow asked with a smile when he saw the Dragon Sparrow King's reaction. "I was originally an ordinary sparrow. It was only because I was nurtured by my lord that I obtained the opportunity to become a king. Normally, if I don't fight to the death, I will unconsciously become cowardly. This is a fact that cannot be changed." The Dragon Sparrow King sighed. "I saw that your performance was not bad when you were fighting the Earth Dragon King." Knight Sorrow said to the Dragon Sparrow King as he walked out of the cave. "That's because I was attracted by the Dominator Divine Weapon and lost my judgment." The Dragon Sparrow King shook his head and said, "Now that I think about it, how could I have the luck to obtain the Dominator Divine Weapon?" Just as the Dragon Sparrow King said this, the Golden Yuan King arrived. The Golden Yuan King snorted coldly and said, "At least you know your place." "It's true that I know my place. However, you don't have that kind of luck either. Can't you see it for yourself?" The Dragon Sparrow King laughed self-deprecatingly. He looked at the Golden Yuan King and continued, "If you had come to snatch the Dominator Divine Weapon today, I'm afraid you would have died." "Hee hee. This king's matters don't need a piece of trash like you to worry about." Chapter 2775. Golden Phoenix King. Let me give you a word of advice. Ambition will make you lose your mind. If you continue to be stubborn, you will end up in a miserable state. Before Knight Sorrow could speak, the Dragon Sparrow King mocked him. "I used to think that you were a maverick. I didn't expect you to have the potential to be a dog." The Golden Phoenix King rebuked the Dragon Sparrow King. He then looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Hand over the Dominator artifact and this king will guarantee that you can leave this pocket dimension safely." "I don't need a deserter like you to protect me. I don't like people like you who don't care about their own people and run away alone." Knight Sorrow looked at the Golden Phoenix King and snorted coldly. "Then, you 2 pieces of trash, are you going to fight?" The Golden Phoenix King's body emitted boundless battle intent. "If the 2 of us are trash, then you are a brainless fly without a head." The Dragon Sparrow King cursed. He then took out his Dominator artifact and attacked the Golden Phoenix King. Knight Sorrow also held the Samsara halberd in his hand. He activated the 33 Skies secret battle technique and attacked with his forbidden spear. "Without the Fire Phoenix King, you are all ants." The Golden Phoenix King laughed coldly in the face of their attacks. He then used both his fists to attack Knight Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. He was indeed strong, especially after his original body merged with his doppelganger. His strength was even stronger than the Fire Phoenix King's. He was not at a disadvantage even though he was fighting 1 against 2. He defeated Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. You are indeed strong. However, you will definitely lose today. After exchanging one move, Yi Shang suddenly stopped and said, "You're right." Hehe. Even now, you are still so confident. Are you ignorant or just ignorant? The Golden Phoenix King laughed coldly. I advise you to use your Dominator artifact. After using it, you will realize that in the face of absolute strength, external items are useless. Since you are so confident, why don't we make a bet? Night Sorrow said. Inside the array formation that he had arranged, Night Sorrow was not afraid that the Fire Phoenix King would be able to see the situation inside. He had already used an illusory array to cover up the situation inside. The scene that was seen from the outside was completely based on the previous move, which had evolved into various illusions. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Golden Wand King smiled confidently. What kind of bet do you want to make? Could it be that he's going to give the sovereign artifact to this king? If the Dragon Sparrow King and I lose to you, my ruler artifact will be yours. Night Sorrow stared at the Golden Wand King and said, If you lose, you will serve me from now on. He and Dragon Sparrow King didn't make any vows of allegiance. However, the Golden Wand King was extremely strong and had no bottom line. He was prepared to enslave her. If he could successfully subdue the Golden Wand King, then the Fire Phoenix King's forces would not be much of a threat. He would basically be in an invincible position and would be able to pass the trial without any worries. What a good plan! The Golden Wand King laughed coldly when he heard Night Sorrow's words. He was strong and he wasn't stupid. He knew that Night Sorrow must have something to rely on if he dared to propose such a bet. After a moment of silence, he opened his mouth and said, All right. No matter what tricks you have up your sleeves, they will all be useless in the face of absolute strength. I agree to the bet. However, I have a condition. If I win, the two of you will serve me. All right. I agree. Since that's the case, let's make a heavenly oath. Night Sorrow felt that there was nothing to be afraid of. He took the lead and made a heavenly oath. Then he said, Actually, you know that your only way out is to make this bet. I also know that this is also the way out for the two of you. The Golden Wand King snorted coldly and made a heavenly oath. He completely unleashed his killing intent and said, Do it. Take this. The Dragon Sparrow King, who had also made a heavenly oath, used a divine talisman and attacked the Golden Wand King. He transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. I will use my speed to restrain him. You use your sovereign artifact. I don't see the need to use my sovereign artifact to deal with him here. Night Sorrow, who had replied to the Dragon Sparrow King, immediately activated the formation after the battle began. After the formation was activated, the Golden Wand King immediately felt his strength decrease exponentially. Realizing that something was wrong, he said angrily, Despicable! You have indeed prepared a trick. There is no such thing as despicable. The winner takes all. Everything is just a trick. Night Sorrow took out Tian Yun Bao and used his blood to activate Tian Yun Bao. When Tian Yun Bao buzzed, he immediately took out 5 heavenly cloud arrows and shot out the heavenly cloud 5 elemental arrows. He knew that he had to use all his strength to deal with the Golden Wand King, who was a top expert among the divine kings. And scram! The Golden Wand King, who was being harassed by the Dragon Sparrow King, already felt his strength being suppressed. The moment Night Sorrow shot out the heavenly cloud 5 elemental arrows, he activated his bloodline and sent the Dragon Sparrow King flying. Then, he faced the 5 elemental arrows head-on. The Golden Wand King's bloodline was originally very weak, but he had been given a drop of ancestral phoenix true blood by the ancestor phoenix. Therefore, his bloodline was not simple, and he was stronger than the other kings. However, after his strength was suppressed, he was still sent flying by Tian Yun Bao's strongest attack. Although he was strong, he was still sent flying. You are also an ant in front of strength. The Golden Wand King was sent flying just like him. The Dragon Sparrow King got up and attacked him again. If he lost, he would have to submit. Although he was not very brave, he knew the consequences. Forbidden Spear. Night Sorrow, who had used Tian Yun Bao to injure the Golden Wand King, took out his heavenly Samsara halberd and attacked his opponent. Just as the Golden Wand King was about to dodge, He used the Divine Origin Dragon-locking formation to bind him temporarily. The Heavenly Samsara Halberd and the Dragon Sparrow King's attacks landed on the Golden Luan King. The Golden Luan King, who had been suppressed by Tianyun Bao, was weakened by half after being attacked. He looked like he was on the verge of death. That's not right. According to the Dragon Sparrow King, the Golden Luan King should have many tricks up his sleeve. When Yi Shang saw the Golden Luan King's reaction, a trace of doubt arose in his heart. The Golden Luan King was suppressed by the formation and could not use his full strength. Moreover, he had activated his bloodline and looked like he was exerting his full strength. However, he felt that the Golden Luan King, the strongest of the 7 kings, should have more power than this. Golden Luan King. Now, take a look and see which of us is the real ant. The Dragon Sparrow King, who did not sense anything wrong, continued to attack the Golden Luan King. Dragon Sparrow, you are just relying on the challenger's Dominator divine weapon and formation. What is there to be proud of? The Golden Luan King looked at him with disdain. You don't need to know what I am relying on. This is the result of your ignorance. As the Dragon Sparrow King spoke, he attacked again. As expected, the Golden Luan King was sent flying again. He looked even weaker, as if he was hanging on by a thread. Chapter 2776. This was because the Golden Luan King was too calm in this situation. It was as if the one who was about to be killed wasn't him. Could this be one of his doppelgangers? Knight Sorrow observed with his sea serpent's eye, and realized that the Golden Luan King had merged with his doppelganger. This made him even more confused. Anyone who was severely injured would use their best skills. However, the Golden Luan King seemed to be on the verge of death. The Dragon Sparrow King was getting more and more excited. He used all sorts of techniques to attack the Golden Luan King. He shouted, "Do you admit defeat? If you continue to resist, you will lose your life." Hee. Do you think a mere sparrow like you can make this king admit defeat? What a joke. The Golden Luan King's aura was weak, but he did not lower his head in front of the Dragon Sparrow King. If you don't surrender, then you can die. The Dragon Sparrow King's eyes were bloodshot. Seeing that the Golden Luan King was in such a state, he attacked again. The Golden Luan King didn't come here to die. What's the problem? As the Dragon Sparrow King attacked, Knight Sorrow, who had activated his sea serpent's eye, began to think of all sorts of possibilities. Boom! Just as Knight Sorrow was thinking, the Dragon Sparrow King's attack landed on the Golden Luan King's body. After being struck, the Golden Luan King's aura began to drop rapidly. Not long after, he lost all signs of life. Dead. The Golden Luan King was killed by me so easily? I thought that he still had some tricks up his sleeve. The Dragon Sparrow King was stunned when he realized that the Golden Luan King had lost all signs of life. He seemed to be tough, but he never thought that he could kill the Golden Luan King. Seeing the Golden Luan King's corpse falling from the sky, the Dragon Sparrow King had the same doubts as Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow asked, "You said that the Golden Luan King had obtained the ancestral phoenix blood essence, right?" "Yes. That's why he's stronger than us," the Dragon Sparrow King explained. "Then I understand." Knight Sorrow nodded and said, "He will definitely be reborn. And after that, he will be even stronger." He thought of Jing Yun's rebirth and knew that it was a phoenix bloodline ability. Right. How could I have forgotten about that? When Dragon Sparrow King heard Yi Shang's words, he was so frightened that his expression changed drastically. He had not been polite at all just now. Just as the two of them were talking, the lifeless corpse of the Golden Luan King suddenly burst into flames. Seeing the Golden Luan King's body burning, the Dragon Sparrow King's face was as white as paper. "It's over. We were right. Should we stop him from resurrecting himself? Of course we can't stop it. If the Golden Luan King were to die completely, then the Golden Luan King would definitely die. If the Golden Luan King, that would Luan King, S. Yi Shang said to Dragon Sparrow King. Then he said telepathically, "Actually, it seemed like I attacked with all my might, but I still had a backup plan. But after his rebirth, his strength will definitely increase by a lot. Luo King's Kings. There is nothing we can do about it. Even if he becomes stronger, we can't stop him." Yi Shang said as he took out some materials and started to set up a new spirit array within the array formation. He was setting up the star shift formation that he learned from the heaven and earth formation. It wasn't like the heaven and earth great formations, which needed a lot of materials to activate. Soon, Night Sorrow finished setting it up. At the same time, the burning body of the Golden Luan King disappeared in the fire. After the body was gone, the sound of a phoenix resonated in the sky. The Dragon Sparrow King heard the sound of the phoenix, and he wanted to kneel down. He said in a shaking voice, "The phoenix. It seems he has become a phoenix." "It seems so. Well, it is expected." Yi Shang recalled Jing Yun's change and felt that the Golden Luan King's change was understandable. "Ha ha ha ha. This king needs to thank you." After the rebirth, the Golden Luan King laughed and said, "I am not the Golden Luan King anymore. I am the Golden Phoenix King." Congratulations! Night Sorrow was in the sky. He congratulated the Golden Phoenix King and said, "Let's continue the bet." "Haha, this king has improved so much. He is almost as powerful as the Divine King. Do you still want to fight me?" Hearing Yi Shang's words, the Golden Luan King, who had evolved into a true phoenix, laughed madly again. The aura on his body was indeed very strong, much stronger than the Fire Phoenix King. Yi Shang looked at him and said, "I think that the two of us have a chance of defeating you." "Take this then." In the sky, the Golden Phoenix King sensed her phoenix body and then turned into a human shape. He punched at Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King. It was exactly the same as when he first showed up. This time, Night Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King tried their best to fight back, but they were still blown away. Among them, the Dragon Sparrow King was almost killed by this attack. After he got up, he sighed and said, "The Golden Phoenix King is not something we can defeat. There's nothing that can't be resisted." Yi Shang, on the other hand, was extremely calm. He activated the two formations and shot the 5 elements arrow at the Golden Phoenix King again. This move doesn't pose much of a threat to me anymore." The Golden Phoenix King disdainfully looked at the 5 elements arrow. "Dominator's weapon is useless in your hands. Accept your failure. Let it be this king's." Then, it spat out a gust of white flames, intending to incinerate the 5 heaven cloud arrows. "You're oversimplifying things." Night Sorrow saw the Golden Phoenix King's reaction and smiled. He used the star-shifting formation to hide the 5 arrows in the void. He avoided the Golden Phoenix King's flame. He showed up behind the Golden Phoenix King. The Golden Phoenix King didn't expect Night Sorrow to do such a thing. The 5 elements arrow hit the Golden Phoenix King's back. "What the hell is this?" The Golden Phoenix King was hit by the 5 elements arrow again. His face turned dark. He discovered that even if his bloodline had evolved, he would still be severely injured by the 5 elemental arrows shot out by the sovereign artifact. "You don't need to know what this is. There are other things waiting for you." As Yi Shang spoke, he recalled the 5 heavenly cloud arrows and shot out the 5 element arrows again. This time, the Golden Phoenix King didn't spit out fire. He dodged the arrows. At the same time, he took out a feather from his body and slashed at Night Sorrow like a sword. "You dodge or not, the result is the same." When the Golden Phoenix King's sword attack hit him, Yi Shang used the Big Dipper teleportation to move himself to the void. Chapter 2777. What the hell is this? The sky cloud arrow disappeared in the sky again. The Golden Phoenix King had become the Golden Phoenix King, but she couldn't do anything about it. She felt so upset. That is the power of the formation. It is called the star-shifting formation. Yi Shang saw the sky cloud arrow hit the Golden Phoenix King again, so he said something to Yi Shang. He didn't hide the stars-shifting formation. Stars-shifting formation? Humph. Let's see how this king breaks it. The Golden Phoenix King was hit by the 5 elements arrow again. He was severely injured, but the Golden Phoenix King had a strong recovery ability. After a while, he was fully recovered. Since he couldn't hit Night Sorrow, he started to attack the barrier of the formation. "You are thinking too much. You can't do anything in the formation." Night Sorrow smiled. He started to control the Golden Phoenix King's attack with the power of the formation. The Golden Phoenix King kept attacking him. After a while, the Golden Phoenix King, who couldn't hit Night Sorrow or the barrier of the formation, started to attack him. He had never felt so humiliated before. The Golden Phoenix King had become a Golden Phoenix King, so he was in high spirits. However, he was in such a miserable state. This king! How could he? The Golden Phoenix King was annoyed. He didn't care about the formation at all. He thought he could defeat Night Sorrow with his own power. However, he ended up in such a miserable state. The Golden Phoenix King was so upset. Night Sorrow stopped attacking and said, "Just give up. Inside the formation you are suppressed. You can't do anything to me. If we leave the formation, we won't be able to defeat you. But here you can't. You won't win a fair fight. I won't give up even if I have to die." The Golden Phoenix King gritted his teeth. He didn't want to give up. "You are useless to me. You don't want to give up. Since you don't want to admit defeat, then die." When Night Sorrow spoke up to this point, his tone changed from calm to cold, with endless killing intent. "Humph! Kill this king? If you kill this king, can you defeat the Fire Phoenix King and the others?" The Golden Phoenix King sounded confident. He felt that his existence was very important, and Night Sorrow would not kill him. "You're too naive. If I can suppress you like this, I can also suppress them." Night Sorrow swallowed a few pills to recover his divine essence energy. He shot out the 5 element arrows again and used the Azure Rock soul-rending roar. This king! The 5 elements arrow shot out again, and the Golden Phoenix King was upset. Furthermore, the Azure Rock soul-splitting roar directly threatened his soul. Within the stellar transposition array, there was no way he could dodge such an attack. "Haha! What is this king? Why don't you admit defeat? Do you want to die?" The Dragon Sparrow King didn't speak for a long time. After Night Sorrow suppressed the Golden Phoenix King, he sneered. He didn't like the Golden Phoenix King at all. "Go away! You ant! You don't have the qualifications to lead the team. This king will point and criticize you." The Golden Phoenix King scolded the Dragon Sparrow King. He despised the Dragon Sparrow King. He didn't like the Dragon Sparrow King at all. The Dragon Sparrow King sneered and said, "This king is this king. Who is not a king? It's just that I know better than you. Do you think you can compare to him? Why are you struggling?" "It is none of your business whether I struggle or not." The Golden Phoenix King couldn't stop talking. Soon, he couldn't even talk anymore. Because of Night Sorrow's attacks, he became more and more agitated. The Dragon Sparrow King asked the Golden Phoenix King, but the Golden Phoenix King was too arrogant to admit defeat. The Dragon Sparrow King didn't think it was necessary to show mercy to the Golden Phoenix King. "Heh. This king is telling you something. There is only a winner who lives. There is no king who dies. Go to hell." The Dragon Sparrow King sneered and stopped trying to persuade the Golden Phoenix King. Just like Night Sorrow, he kept attacking the Golden Phoenix King. The Golden Phoenix King was injured by the Sky Cloud arrow. After being attacked by the two of them, he couldn't hold on any longer. At this moment, the Golden Phoenix King finally felt scared. He realized that neither Night Sorrow nor the Dragon Sparrow King took him seriously. They didn't want to show mercy to him at all. "What should I do? Is this king going to be my servant? No. No way." The Golden Phoenix King knew he was going to die, but he didn't want to give in. Your story ends here. When the Golden Phoenix King couldn't fight back anymore, Night Sorrow took out 5 more arrows and prepared to kill him. "Don't do it. This king can swear that I will serve you in this small world. I will protect you." The Golden Phoenix King realized that if Night Sorrow made a move, he would be killed. At the last moment, he started to beg for mercy. "Humph! If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place?" The Dragon Sparrow King disdainfully scolded the Golden Phoenix King. Yi Shang didn't care about the Golden Phoenix King's begging. When he shot out the Sky Cloud 5 elements arrow, he said, "That's not what we agreed on. You have no right to bargain with me. I give up. I give up. I will serve you from now on. If I break my promise, I will die." After Night Sorrow shot out the Sky Cloud 5 elements arrow, the Golden Phoenix King couldn't hold it anymore. He kneeled in the sky and begged for mercy. He had just obtained the Golden Phoenix bloodline. Before he could use it, He was going to be killed. That was a different feeling. That was hopeless. The Golden Phoenix King chose to surrender. Can you use the formation to divert the attack? The Dragon Sparrow King looked at Night Sorrow and talked to him through mind connection. You don't have that many chances. Night Sorrow didn't want to hold back at all. He controlled the Sky Cloud 5 Elements arrow to kill the Golden Phoenix King. Night Sorrow didn't think it was necessary to keep the Golden Phoenix King alive. The Golden Phoenix King might betray him at any time. Even though the Golden Phoenix King was bound by the oath, it was meaningless to keep such a man around. How can we defeat the Fire Phoenix King if we kill him? The Dragon Sparrow King was confused when he saw Night Sorrow kill the Golden Phoenix King. If the Fire Phoenix King tries to kill us, he will rush into the formation. We will deal with the Fire Phoenix King the same way we dealt with the Golden Phoenix King, Yishang said. After he killed the Golden Phoenix King, he used the illusion array to show the battle between him, the Dragon Sparrow King, and the Golden Phoenix King. The Dragon Sparrow King and the Dragon Sparrow King barely won the battle. Seeing such a scene, if the Fire Phoenix King and her subordinates entered the spirit design, it proved that they were interested in the Heaven Cloud Bow. Chapter 2778. If they enter the formation, they won't be able to defeat us. The Dragon Bird King calmed down a bit after hearing Night Sorrow's words. The Golden Phoenix King was so powerful, yet she couldn't fight back in the formation. The Fire Phoenix King and the others shouldn't be able to either. The Dragon Bird King thought for a while and asked, what if they don't enter the formation? What should we do? If they want the Dominator's divine weapon, they will definitely enter the formation. Night Sorrow said. The formation showed the Fire Phoenix King and the others the best way to get the Dominator's divine weapon. As long as they wanted the Dominator's divine weapon, they would do it. Good. Let's wait then. The Dragon Bird King calmed down after hearing Night Sorrow's words. He realized that he had made the right choice by standing on Night Sorrow's side. Here they come. The Dragon Bird King had just said something, and Night Sorrow sensed that some people had entered the formation. 3 of them, the Fire Phoenix King, the Fire Bat King, and the Fire Serpent King. As expected, everybody is greedy. The Dragon Bird King stood in the sky and looked at where Night Sorrow pointed. He released his spiritual soul power and sensed the Fire Phoenix King and the others as well. Ha ha ha! Dragon Bird King, it seems you are not seriously injured. The Fire Bat King sensed the Dragon Bird King's chi, so he disdainfully shouted. It caused a huge tremor in the formation. Some of the mountain rocks were shattered by the roar. Fire Bat King, what are you doing? Night Sorrow didn't say anything, but he looked at the Dragon Bird King. The Dragon Bird King knew what he meant, so he scolded the Fire Bat King. Ha ha ha! We are here to get the Dominator's divine weapon. The Fire Bat King laughed. Get the Dominator's divine weapon? You are shameless. The Dragon Bird King heard the Fire Bat King and mocked him. Hearing Dragon Sparrow King's ridicule, Fire Bat King laughed and said, Don't talk nonsense with me. You too. Just give us the Dominator's divine weapon. We know you are already at the end of your rope. You don't have the power to fight back. After the Fire Bat King spoke, the Fire Dragon King and Fire Phoenix King didn't say anything, but they had already used their actions to prove their stance. The Fire Wyrm King had already chased after the Dragon Sparrow King. The Fire Phoenix King, on the other hand, had locked onto Night Sorrow. Clearly, she wanted to take Tianyun Bao for herself. I remember you said that you would give me a year's time. Can't wait any longer? Night Sorrow, who was standing quietly in the air, said when he saw the Fire Phoenix Empire flying towards him. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the formation could hear him clearly. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Fire Phoenix King's face revealed a trace of a smile. There is a saying that all is fair in war. The sovereign artifact is the key to this king's ability to leave this small world and obtain the ancestral phoenix's fortune. How could he give it up so easily? Aren't you curious why I'm not injured at all? Yishang asked with a calm expression. He was calm. The Fire Phoenix King, who was as confident as the Golden Phoenix King, was a bit surprised. She didn't think that Night Sorrow could turn the situation around. She thought for a while and coldly said, It doesn't matter whether you are injured or not. The Golden Phoenix King is dead. In this small world, Nobody can stop this king. If the invincible Golden Phoenix King died, why do you think you are invincible? Knight Sorrow thought that the Fire Phoenix King and the Golden Phoenix King were the same kind of people. They were proud from the bottom of their hearts. They didn't care about him at all. He had the sovereign artifact, but he was ignored. The Golden Luan King is alone, but I have 3 deity kings. How are you and the Dragon Sparrow King going to stop them? After saying that, the Fire Phoenix King turned into a phoenix from her human form. He spat out a mouthful of extremely hot flames at Yishan. When the Fire Phoenix King attacked, the Fire Flood Dragon King attacked the Dragon Sparrow King too. The Fire Bat King was a free man. He was going to help whoever was in a passive position. From their point of view, the 3 of them would be able to crush Knight Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King completely with their lineup. There was no doubt that they would win. They didn't think about why the Golden Phoenix King was killed. Besides, Knight Sorrow and the Dragon Sparrow King weren't injured at all. They were arrogant. We don't need to defend against your attacks. You are the ones who need to defend yourselves. Facing the Fire Phoenix King's attack, Knight Sorrow didn't move at all. He directly used the Star Transposition Array and used the flame spat out by the Fire Phoenix King to attack the Fire Wyrm King. The Fire Flood Dragon King was attacking the Dragon Sparrow King, but he was stunned by the fire that came out of nowhere. He looked at the Fire Phoenix King with confusion. Fire Phoenix King, what is going on? Why are you attacking me? This king didn't attack you. There is a formation here. He can use the formation to divert this king's attacks. The Fire Phoenix King replied to the Fire Flood Dragon King. She already knew how Knight Sorrow killed the Golden Phoenix King. If he could divert her attacks without limit, this battle would be really troublesome. I see. What should we do? The Fire Flood Dragon King asked in a panic when he heard that Knight Sorrow had such an ability. He had never heard of such an ability before. He didn't know how to deal with it. I think we can try to use a Divine Soul attack. The Fire Phoenix King said. She didn't hesitate and immediately used a Divine Soul attack on Knight Sorrow. She said to the Fire Bat King, "Find a way to break the formation. If this goes on, we might follow in the Golden Phoenix King's footsteps." Only then did the Fire Phoenix King realize that things weren't that simple. Fire attacks don't work, but Divine Soul attacks work? In the face of the Fire Phoenix King's Divine Soul attack, Knight Sorrow directly diverted it to the Fire Bat King, who was looking for a flaw in the formation. The Fire Bat King, who had been flying in the air, was hit hard by the Fire Phoenix King's soul attack and fell down. Fire Phoenix King. We can't continue fighting like this. The challenger is an invincible existence in this formation. The Fire Bat King, whose Divine Soul was shaken, said to the Fire Phoenix King. There was no doubt that if they continued fighting like this, they would all be killed like the Golden Phoenix King. This king also didn't expect that he could set up such a formation that has never been heard of before. The Fire Phoenix King also felt a great deal of pressure. Although she was the strongest among them, what was the use? Knight Sorrow didn't give her any room to play. At this moment, the Fire Flood Dragon King suddenly said to the Fire Phoenix King, "Let's attack together. Maybe he doesn't have the ability to control all of our attacks." Yes, you're right. Chapter 2779. Looking at Knight Sorrow and Dragon Sparrow King, Fire Phoenix King, who had been reminded by the Fire Drake King, transmitted her voice to the Fire Drake King and Fire Bat King. I'll feign an attack later. Both of you attack at the same time and try to kill Dragon Sparrow King instantly. At this point, Fire Phoenix King paused for a moment and said, "When the 2 of you attack, pay attention to all your methods. Try to make him panic." Okay. I'll use my divine weapons and talismans. Fire Bat King, who had received the message, replied and prepared to attack. Fire Drake King also transmitted his voice. Don't worry. Very good. Fire Phoenix King received the reply and immediately slashed at Knight Sorrow with her Phoenix Feather Sword. She felt that Knight Sorrow would not be able to move the sword away from her. At the same time, Fire Bat King and Fire Drake King attacked Dragon Sparrow King one after another. Not only did the 2 of them use their strongest divine weapons, but they also used their divine talismans. For a moment, the attacks in the formation were chaotic, making it difficult for people to look at them. You guys are really simple-minded. If it was so easy to break, would it still be called a formation? Seeing the three of them, Knight Sorrow smiled and directly transferred himself and Dragon Sparrow King into the void. All three of their attacks missed. You can do that? Fire Drake King, who had suggested to Fire Phoenix King, was speechless after his attack missed. It seemed that Knight Sorrow was a godlike existence in this formation. There was no way to defeat him. Fire Phoenix King and Firebat King were also speechless. The situation in front of them made them feel a little desperate. Hee. Aren't you guys very arrogant? Why are you like Golden Luan King, unable to resist at all? Dragon Sparrow King, who had been transferred to the void by Knight Sorrow, mocked Fire Phoenix King and the others. Dragon Sparrow King, this is not your ability. What are you being arrogant for? Firebat King retorted unhappily when he heard Dragon Sparrow King's mockery. He felt that Dragon Sparrow King was a villain who was intoxicated by success. Dragon Sparrow King smiled and said, "Isn't having good eyesight and making the right choice a kind of ability?" Dragon Sparrow King, do you still have any divine talismans? Meanwhile, Knight Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the Dragon Sparrow King. Divine talisman? What talisman? Dragon Sparrow King asked doubtfully. At this moment, he was completely convinced by Knight Sorrow. Under such circumstances, he was completely unable to react to Yi Shang's question. Speed-increasing talisman. At the same time, Knight Sorrow explained, the surrounding heaven and earth Yuan Qi has been depleted. The star-shifting formation can no longer be used. What? What was going on? There are still 2 divine talismans left. Do we need to escape now? After receiving this news, the Dragon Sparrow King was immediately dumbfounded. He had just mocked the Phoenix King. If the Phoenix King took the initiative, he would die miserably. Originally, the surrounding Yuan Qi was very abundant, enough to support the revolving star passage formation for dozens of years. But just now, all the energy of heaven and earth in the vicinity disappeared. Knight Sorrow explained. As for why this happened, he really couldn't figure it out. Then do we need to escape? Dragon Sparrow King was speechless. What's there to do? Immediately, we need to escape to the location of the challenge. Knight Sorrow said and continued, give me all the speed-increasing talismans and enter my spatial artifact. Otherwise, it won't be safe when we reach the challenge. After all, 2 people are not allowed to enter the challenge at the same time. Alright, I'll give you the talisman. Dragon Sparrow King handed the talisman to Knight Sorrow without hesitation. At the same time, he entered the Haotian Pagoda in the void. After receiving the talisman, Knight Sorrow looked at the Phoenix King and the others. After sizing them up, he said, I'll give you all a chance. If you don't want to die here, then swear an oath to the heavens and follow me. This was the last attempt he was prepared to make. If the Phoenix King and the others were fooled and swore an oath to the heavens, then he wouldn't have to run at all. You want me, the Phoenix King, to follow you, a divine lord? Hearing Knight Sorrow, the Phoenix King looked disdainful. If I, the Phoenix King, am such a humble person, I wouldn't be here today. It seems you are just like the Golden Phoenix King, the Golden Phoenix King. You won't give up until you see the coffin. Knight Sorrow coldly said and took out the Tianyun bow. He didn't hesitate to shoot out the 5 elements arrows. No. He can divert our attacks. He must be able to do the same with the Dominator's divine weapon. Activate your strongest defense now. 5 sky cloud arrows were shot out. The Phoenix King immediately talked to the Firebat King and the Fire Serpent King, telling them to be prepared. They didn't want to be killed by the Dominator's divine weapon. I wonder who the Dominator's divine weapon is going to attack. When the sky cloud arrows were flying, the Fire Serpent King murmured. He was the weakest among the 3 kings. If Knight Sorrow's 5 elements arrows hit him, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. The Firebat King was a bit nervous. He didn't want to be hit by the 5 elements arrows. The more you defend yourselves, the easier it will be for me to leave. Yi Shang held back his laughter when he saw their reactions. He immediately used the divine talisman and dragon roaming heaven steps to fly in the direction of the trial. At the same time, the 5 sky cloud arrows were called back. No. He is just pretending. He is running away. The formation should be useless now. The Phoenix King was the first to react. She immediately chased after Yi Xiao. The Fire Bat King and the Fire Serpent King felt lucky, but they also chased after Yi Xiao. Intruder! You can't escape! The Fire Phoenix King shouted coldly as she chased after Yi Xiang. She felt like she was being toyed with by Yi Xiang, and she felt very depressed. You are the one who can't escape. I will leave this small world soon. After using the heavenly talisman made by the Dragon Sparrow King, Night Sorrow was extremely fast. When he used the dragon steps, the three kings couldn't even catch up with him. At this moment the Phoenix King said, "We have to catch up to him. Otherwise, we will lose the chance to leave this small world." She could tell that Night Sorrow had a high chance of passing the challenge because he had too many tricks up his sleeve. After shouting this, the Phoenix King ignited her bloodline and instantly increased her speed by more than 2 times. This time, the Phoenix King left the Fire Bat King and the Fire Serpent King far behind. She was getting closer and closer to Night Sorrow. This king said that you can't escape. Based on the distance between the two of them, it was certain that they would catch up to Yi Sorrow if they continued to move at their current speed. The Phoenix King's eyes were filled with viciousness. Hee. Let's not talk about whether you can catch up to me. Even if you catch up alone, so what? But you're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.